tears glow. We'll sip our worries away, nice and slow. Your laughter ripples like sweet warm wine. In this jazzy sultry space you're mine. The saxophone croons a velvet tune, while melodies dance beneath the moon. We'll toast to moments both grand and small, in this hazy, lazy, jazz-touched hall. Let's sit together in the mellow night. We'll drink to love till the morning light. Every glass we raise a promise true. Here's to the magic in a drink with you. They sparkle with every click, sweet rendezvous over a simple drink. We'll share our secrets in whispers low, just you and me where the jazz flows slow. The world outside fades into the mist, but here it's our own dreamy tryst. With each sip our worries drift away. Let's stay together till the break of day. So let's sit together in the mellow night. We'll drink to love till the morning light. Every glass we raise a promise true. Here's to the magic in a drink with you.
The following live stream has been approved for appropriate audiences. It may contain occasional strong language and may not be suitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer inebriation is advised, though not mandatory.
I was recently catching up with an old friend of mine, Professor Quinn Mallory of California University, who was relating to me that in an alternate 2005, Die Another Day had a direct sequel called 007 in New York. It starred a US-born British actor by the name of Michael French, and the theme song was Confide in Me, performed by Kylie Minogue. Or maybe I've had too many martinis today. Anyway, it's the weekend, so let's live and let die. Top off your glasses, tell me what you're sipping on in the chat, and we'll roll this Canarble Wagon right now.
Last Call is streamed before a live audience.
Va saluta, welcome. So glad you guys could make it, and happy Friday to every single one of you. We talked about the drink that I'm going to be drinking tonight, but in case you weren't here for my liquid lunch, what am I sipping on?
So I'll have a vodka martini, dirty.
Like that too.
Yes, I am having a double. Absolutely, I am. It is my take on the Vesper Martini. I use gin instead of vodka, and I use Coca Americana instead of Quinoa Lillet Blanc. Okay, so it's not really a Vesper Martini, but it's as close as I want to come because it's the martini that I actually enjoy. So let me know what you all are sipping on in the chat. And while you let me know that, let's bring in first this beautiful, beautiful blonde woman, my sidekick, partner, co-pilot in life, Netter of Netters Network. How you doing, my dear? And what are you?
I am doing really well.
And why doesn't it have rum in it tonight?
Because it's seltzer water.
Maybe we get a little bit of coconut rum maybe a little later, huh?
If you notice, tonight I'm kind of styling.
You are styling. I dig that hat. And excuse me, I'm gonna jump over my designated driver for just a moment to bring in the special guest who gifted that beautiful hat to Netter of Netters Network, Michael French of RetroBlasting, who in another universe would have gone into acting. He would have stayed in England, and he would have been playing.
Yeah, that's likely. But I appreciate.
Come on, though. Don't you think that was a great little one?
Awesome. It's perfect.
I mean,
I think what was perfect was your choice of Kylie's song as a Bond song. Me, whatever. That though.
So here's okay. First, we got to fill in the audience on this. If you're not following RetroBlasting, why not? The link is below in the description. Please do that. But I think most of my regulars are already subscribers, if not members, over on your channel. And you should know that Michael, well, if you look right up over his left shoulder, right shoulder from the way you're looking at him. Oh, yeah, there. And on his chest, Kylie Minogue, right? He's a big Kylie Minogue fan. Michael, I have to admit that before today, I had never heard a Kylie Minogue song.
Oh, okay.
Obviously I saw her in that Doctor Who episode.
Right.
And a dear friend of mine who passed away a while ago, he was of the more gentle persuasion, shall we say?
Yep.
And in that community, he told me, here, at least in the United States, Kylie Minogue is a big icon.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I did actually get for him, and I can't remember now what it was. He was looking on the internet for a particular live concert she had done, and I was able to find it and press a DVD for him. So I knew of her.
Right.
But it wasn't until I was like, man, has she ever done like a Bond song? And I looked it up. And it turns out that particular song, I think she herself had described it as being like a Bond theme.
Yes.
And I listened to it and I'm like, damn, I could totally hear this as a James Bond theme. It's actually better than a lot of the James Bond themes in the past decade or so.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, this is not even something you could contest.
No.
You don't even have to be a Kylie Minogue fan to go, even if you think, it's an okay song, still Head and Shoulders better than what we've been putting out.
And Confide in Me happens to be the song that crosses over for a lot of people who don't necessarily do pop dance. So I know a lot of people who, Melinda's one, where they're more like, they're not pop dance people and their music is, different, harder or whatever you want to call it. Confide in Me is the one like song that everybody agrees, oh yeah, I'm not really a Kylie Minogue listener, but Confide in Me is like, 10 out of 10. So
what's funny was I'm listening to it again, first Kylie Minogue song I've listened to. And I was feeling kind of, and that song came out in the 90s.
Yeah, it was 1994, her 94 album.
94. But it had, for me, kind of an 80s feel. And I'm thinking a little bit like, I don't know, like Belinda Carlisle and Susanna Hoff. And I'm little bits of that. And I'm like, man, if I had heard her back then, I totally could have gotten into this. But anyway, that's...
Yeah.
Just thought you'd get a kick out of that.
That was the first album that she did after she finally had completed her contract with Stock Aikman Waterman. So that Saw, as they were known, and they were they took popular television stars of the day and gave them albums to capitalize on their fame and get a quick hit or something out of it.
Yeah.
They didn't anticipate that this actress from this Australian soap opera called Neighbours would actually be a stellar singer.
She's got a great voice, yeah.
Yeah, so it blew up. Her career blew up as an outlier. And so then right after she finished her 4th album with them, she did 1 album a year for 4 years with them. And then there was like a 3-year hiatus, and then she did Kylie Minogue was the name of the album, 1994. And it's like one of her most personal indie albums or whatever. So there you go.
So did you catch the reference to James Bond in New York?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured you would. How about you, Boomer? By the way, welcome, Boomer, and what are you sipping on tonight?
I'm doing okay. I'm drinking an unsweetened iced tea. James Bond in New York, is that a reference to a short story that was either in TV Guide and Entertainment Weekly, James Bond in New York?
Yep, and later put out in whichever collection it was that had Octopussy in it, I think.
He was ice skating, correct?
I don't know.
Be thinking of a different story. This was a newer story, not written by.
I haven't read it yet, but it has to do with him having to explain to an MI6 agent that her boyfriend is a KGB agent.
It might be a different story. That might be a Fleming original. I haven't gotten to that one yet in my reading. I last left off on Thunderball. I still have to get to The Spy Who Loved Me.
I'm pretty sure that James Bond in New York was like one of the last stories he wrote, or it was at least late in the career. I was just playing with the idea that if you're going to do a sequel to the Pierce Brosnan film, it's going to have to be the latest one you could do. So anyway,
something, sweetie, you're kind of remiss in saying hello to the chat.
I know I am. I was just about to get there.
Can I say something though? I did want to say that we did do the original Bond stream on May 17th of last year, so it's we're almost at a year anniversary.
I know it's almost exactly.
I did a check because I had to find the old file, and then I was looking through the emails trying to figure out, well, when did we have it, and then I finally found the old file. I added to the file. I lengthened out the slides because I figured we're going to spend more time.
Michael, you've been very busy since then. We totally understand. Time has flown.
I thought we'd know who the new Bond is by now, and we don't. Okay, so
let's get into the future speculation later if we get to it at all. What we're going to get to right now is saying hi to all of you lovely people in the chat, starting with the bird woman of YouTube, Connie Cleary. Hail, chat. Hail, Connie. Welcome, welcome. And Jesse Green, 619. Hello and welcome, my friend. Beautiful Netter of Netters Network, who drops a chat that is pinned to the top. Please check that out at some point during the stream. RetroBlasting's, what is that called? Store redbubble.com. That is his merch store where you can get really cool shirts like this. RetroBlasting.
This one.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're the same shirt, but different sizes. Mine is twice the size. Big guy. But they come in all sizes is what I'm basically saying.
Oh, my hair's covering my one.
So it is a great way to support a channel. Also, link to RetroBlasting below. Get over there. He's got a Patreon. So, feel free, and it's like one of the cheapest Patreons in the world. I'm maxed out because where his top tier is where most people's low tier is. I don't know how he makes a living doing. Well, yes, I do. When you get like 1 million views on your Dial of Dysentery video, I mean it's like okay, yeah.
Well, but those are few and far between. I mean.
There's a lot of work that goes into those.
Yeah,
so
and
of
YouTube is a slog. It's a war of attrition. It's not.
Where are we at on the Rogue One video right now?
Well, let me give you the latest and greatest. I'll give you the latest right here. We'll find out together.
He's gonna look it up.
It's currently at 24,900 views. It's above the high end of the viewing average for the channel. However, it is currently dropping off a little bit because of the way the YouTube algorithm works. But
in fairness, the Dial of Dysentery video did too, and then kind of came back.
I am hoping with crossed fingers that there is a resurgence, an aftershock of sorts.
I know that I have been sharing it out every chance I get. Deleted Scenes, whom I'm sure is here somewhere, and I'll get a chance to say hi to him later, has been touting it as well. So we'll get you there. We'll get you there. And here's a familiar face for you, Tim Hayes, saying hi to Papa Pacelli. And what else does he have to say? He says, I was going to be away from the PC to use the lawnmower on the weeds in my alley, but that will wait. My mother wanted to water the back lawn. Yeah, we know the real reason you're here, Tim. It's because of this guy here. We know. That's okay. That's okay. We know you're a fan. And, well, you should be, because he's good people. Storyman Jack is here. I am here, actually able to stay up tonight. Well, you have a couple of these, might make it a little bit more challenging, but if you do, you have that blue wrench now, so make sure you drop the link to your the story that you've just recently posted. And of course, salute to Deleted Scenes. I told you he was here. He is good people, and he has been sharing out that Rogue One video because he knows hard work and good movie archaeology when he sees it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Indiana Jones ones and excuse me, and the one you just did.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
They're more entertaining than the actual movies.
It's good to take a really bad movie. That's how you make it easy on yourself.
So I do have to say, at JPRPH1, howdy, welcome to you. I do have to say, Dial of Dysentery was, what did I say? I think I told people, it's 4 hours long. It's twice as long as the actual movie, but it's more than 10 times better.
Yeah.
So definitely worth watching. Watch this so you don't have to see this movie. Rogue One, on the other hand, I was like, I kind of liked this movie before I saw this, and now I'm kind of second guessing myself.
It's the only Disney Star Wars film I like. It's a relationship that's complicated. That's
it
the
is. I get that.
It's not that I hate it. It's that the relationship is very complicated. That's all.
Fair enough.
But somebody tried to say that they weren't going to watch 3 hours and 10 minutes of a critique of a Disney film. And I said, over half of this isn't a critique. Over half of this is a forensic, examination of a lost cut. It has nothing.
This has less to do with whether or not you even care about Star Wars. This is more about if you care about how movies are made and the behind the scenes and sometimes even the politics of making a movie.
Right.
That's very generalizable. It's not just for Star Wars fans at all.
Yeah.
Star Wars haters even.
Yeah.
It's more for people that are into films.
Yeah. There's only 1 hour of the 3 hours that's a movie review. And that's shorter than the movie itself. So
Fair enough. So Storyman Jack says, I just bought a camper and will be moving on Monday. It is just me now, so I am downsizing. Fair enough, my friend. Yeah, if you're going to be living in if you're going to be living out of a camper for an extended period of time, yeah, you're going to need to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be spending money on storage, which kind of defeats the point of having stuff. Just my thought. You look great as well, Michael. Handsome and happy-go-lucky young man as usual. Yeah, see, he's a fan, and he's a smart guy. He's a good judge of character.
That's true.
Geek Flag with Nate Knows celebrates 6 months of membership. Sorry, Troy, but Netters, where's the hat better? Yeah, well, look, let's face it. She's always going to be better looking. There's nothing we can do about that. She is the best looking person on this stream. Michael comes a distant second, and forget about me and Boomer. We're just me and Boomer, for crying out loud. Yeah, I know. There's a reason you're not on camera.
Hey.
What is this? Kylie Minogue covered a 1960s tune called "The Locomotion."
Yes, that was her. That was her first hit off of her 1988 album titled.
Was that the Locomotion? Was that the one? What year was that? Do you know?
That was 88. It was released. It was released in the US as a single as well.
Then I guess I had heard of Kylie Minogue before. I know that version. I heard that song and I was like, "Oh, this is a cover." And my mom was like, "Oh yeah, I love this song," But I didn't. Yeah, it didn't register with me, Kylie Minogue.
That's her.
I think for most Americans, that was just a one-hit wonder kind of thing.
Until 2001, when she came out with "Can't Get You Out of My Head," which brought her back into.
That was Kylie Minogue too?
Yes.
Damn! Okay, I take back everything I said. I guess I liked Kylie Minogue before I knew she was Kylie Minogue.
And she's had her third round in the United States finally again as of last year with Padam Padam, which is the thing that brought. She just finished a nationwide.
Okay, I don't know that one.
She just finished a nationwide tour here for the first time in decades.
Right.
Hit all the major
I saw
cities.
your live stream the other day.
Yep. So,
Robert's Infinite Realms, welcome evening all. Oh, what up, party people? Forget my catchphrase. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Welcome, my friend. And Delight loves movies. Well, we all love movies, don't we? You only live twice, Mr. Bond.
Yep.
I gotta admit, guys, these blur together for me. You Only Live Twice was... Which Bond was that?
5. Connery, number 5.
I thought so. Okay, fair enough.
The one with the ninjas that come down out of the volcano.
Oh,
that's cool.
Nah. When you have like 70 ninjas rappelling down into a volcano fortress, I'm sorry, that's like one of the greatest visuals of all time.
I will be... I am well behind Boomer in this. Boomer and I both have the complete collection of the original stories.
Yeah.
And he is way ahead of me because that's where his focus is. My focus is currently on Batman Resurrection, which is a fabulous book. We'll probably have to do a stream about that one day, folks. It's kind of a follow-up to our Batman 89 stream. Read, people, read. It's worth it. It really, really is. The tired midnight blogger himself, Curtis Selby. Nothing to see here, citizen. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. We had a great time with him on Netters Network last night, talking about his new channel.
Which is Nothing to See Here,
Nothing to see here, citizen. And of course, Geek Flag with Nate Knows, supporting the channel with a $2 super chat to say, bonjour, Netter, Troy, and RetroBlasting. Screw you, Boomer.
No,
I'm just playing.
Go down one more super chat.
Oh, there we go. Damn. $2 and Boomer. Okay, Boomer, I'll have to figure out a way to get you that $2.
Fine, just put it back into your.
He always says that.
Yes,
that.
I know keeping this up is called. You got to get some gin with it. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. Oh, I am halfway through my Bombay Sapphire, so yeah, maybe I should. David Pensack, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you as well. You look great. Clean shaven. Okay. That sounds to me like he's getting on you about your personal hygiene. Just saying.
Well, he used to count the wrinkles in my forehead years ago when I do a video.
Here's the problem. Okay, you've been YouTubing a lot longer than I have. I can go back and see your older videos and go, time has gone by.
Oh yeah.
Now, see, Troy is clean shaven if he takes off his hat. He just
right.
Oh yeah.
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 You go back.
You going that way too, my friend?
You go. Well, I'm not losing anything back here or on the top. Really, it's thinned a little bit, but what I am losing is the front. So I'm starting to look like, Gary Oldman in Dracula, like where it's.
Fair enough. Do you have you don't have the?
I don't have this at all. No, I'm still full back here.
Did you ever hear this story about me? So
Mm.
so I was doing the best I could with the hair that I had, and I
Right.
knew I was doing the Jack Nicholson, Bruce Willis, kind of. And then one day, Netter and I walk into a Mr. Sub, and they're one of those places that has the CCTV camera as you come in, and you can see yourself on the TV over the counter, and I'm looking at the back of my damn head, and there's this big old friggin' bald spot, and I'm like, and I look at Netter, and I'm like, I got a bald spot. She's like, yeah, and I'm like, you never told me this. And she's like, I thought you knew. I'm like, how would I know? How would I know? I took it all. Well, I thought about options.
Right.
I'll admit it. And I was young at the time. I was in my 30s.
Right.
And I was using like Grecian formula. I was trying to keep the gray away and stuff. And I said, screw it. And I just went and I just took it all freaking off. I said, I am not fighting this battle.
Yeah.
You know, the whole Bruce Willis thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I've considered, if it keeps up, then I'll have to make a decision. And I said to myself a little while back, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'll look good as a bald person, but I also don't want to be on weird drugs for the rest of my life. Like,
right.
So I was just like, I'll just let nature take its course.
Honestly, the real way to do it is talk it over with Melinda.
Yeah.
She's the one who has to look at you. And I did the same thing with Netter. I'm like, I think I should just take it all off.
Right.
Like, yeah, if you want to. I think you. She said, no, I remember what she said. She said, go ahead and do it because hair can grow back.
Right.
See what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I just took it all off. And I was like, it looks okay. What do you think? Yeah, I'm okay with it. And we just stuck with it.
Right. Whereas, if it gets to that point, I'm sure I can look at Melinda and go, do you think my bald head's kind of ugly? It might be kind of ugly. Maybe I'll cover it back up. Good thing I have a lot of hats.
I was just going to say, you always got hats. You know?
I mean, I've shaved my head like 6-7 times. And
there was a bloke that I saw in the grocery store the other day who complimented me on my hat. I wear a brown, more Stetson style fedora when I go out.
Right.
And he complimented me on my hat. And I said, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I said, I think we need to bring hats like this back again. I said, but I've got an ulterior motive. I got to protect the dome.
Exactly. Know? Yeah.
In wintertime, it keeps you warm. In summertime, you got to keep if you've never had sunburn on top of your head,
it's got to be horrible. It's got to be horrible.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've ever had sunburn on your face and nose,
yes,
you can imagine what it's like on. Well, you've got the pale pasty like.
Oh yeah, the Nicole Kidman complexion going on. Yeah, yeah.
Nicole Kidman. Here's to her. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She wasn't.
I'm sorry, guys. I got to go through these fast because I need to really start getting to all the. I don't want to miss nobody. If I miss anybody, please speak up. Hello, my friends. Thanks at Deleted Seams Films with Friends Raid. Thank you. Deleted and Big Al were watching. It wasn't Stranded. Marooned. You were watching Marooned tonight. Sorry I couldn't join you for that. I was still getting stuff together up to the last minute on this, including my double here. That's alcohol abuse. There we go. David, Deleted, Lester. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of breezing past. I'm going to miss what you guys are saying because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody like Outlaw Bill. Greetings from a desert. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see here. Again, I don't want to miss nobody because you guys are all so important to me. Mark Daly. I haven't seen you in a while, my friend. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. The one in Japan, minus Blofeld, meets Bond, Little Nelly. Okay, that might mean more to you,
You only
Die
live
Hard.
twice. That's what he was referring
You
to.
only live twice.
Nancy Sinatra.
She had great legs. Let me just tell you. She had great legs. Adega Outlaw.
Yeah,
Great author. Check out his channel. He's a great storyteller, let me tell you.
and he's hanging out on my channel.
I've said for decades GoldenEye was the best non-Connery Bond film. I should revisit that one. Lately, I'm thinking about removing the words non-Connery from the sentence. GoldenEye is just a perfect movie, no flaws. Okay, I'm almost caught up, but Geek Flag drops a fin because he's like, listen to me. He says, did you know that a buttload is an actual unit of measurement? 170 gallons is a buttload. I have known some people in my time who had buttloads that I would not be surprised were 170 gallons. So just saying. Just saying. So, Boomer, I'm going to put this on you.
Yes.
Catch us up. First, do you by any chance happen to have the link to the previous year's part one?
I probably should have that handy, but I can go find it. I did want to say, though, the whole thing is actually on Rumble. Remember, we split off after halfway through and went straight to Rumble. Do you remember this?
Yep, I was doing that. That's true. I would go for 2 hours over here, and then we'd all go over to Rumble.
What I will do is
I may do that again in the future.
I will find a link to the original, and then I will post it in the chat. All right?
That would be awesome if you do that. Real quick, I bring this up just because this is Curtis Selby's new channel, Nothing to See Here Citizen. Please, if you haven't already, because of last night's stream on Editors Network, subscribe to Nothing to See Here Citizen. He is starting all over from friggin' scratch because F YouTube. That's all I can say. That's all I'm going to say. Go check out Netter's stream from last night, and please subscribe to Nothing to See Here Citizens. But the reason I asked that, Boomer, and I don't think Michael's going to remember any better than I do.
Yes.
It's been a friggin' year, and we've all slept since then.
Yes.
By the way, I should explain that joke because I don't think I've ever explained it on stream before. It's an old joke. It's an old computer joke. For those of us that grew up in them, we just lost him. That's okay. I'll talk until he comes back. For those of us that grew up in the 70s and 80s with the advent of computers and so forth, you will remember a time before we had hard drives. And anything you did on a computer, when you shut it off, you lost it. You either saved it to a floppy disk or it was lost forever. So the idea of, I can't remember because I've slept since then, implies that your brain works like those old 80s computers. That's what that joke means. But because we've all slept since last year, we don't remember what Bond did we yeah, go ahead.
We finished with Roger Moore. We did all the Roger Moores, we did all the Connerys, we did the one George Lazenby. I remember Michael was like, are we doing them all? And I was like, well, we can cut off now. And then, so I figured we'd cut off with Roger Moore, and now we will return.
So what you're saying is that Michael got
the first three, and now we're going to do the second three. What? I'm sorry, what? You interrupted.
Michael got tired of us, and so he said, let's cut.
No, we just would have been going on for about 8 hours. Anyway, look, we did the first 3 bonds, and now we're going to do the second 3 bonds.
Fair enough. So George Lazenby, those of you that joined me for Liquid Lunch this afternoon know that George Lazenby is my favorite. And it's partially because of him himself, because what did I say this afternoon? I said he is the underdog. He only got one
Yes.
And that's why I have a soft spot in my heart for Paul McGann as Doctor Who. You know, same thing. But also because of what On Her Majesty's Secret Service does for the continuity, right? It honestly, that movie is the movie that the fans go to for their whole goofy fan theory. Well, every James Bond, every actor is a different person.
Okay.
Bond is just a title, and it's like no. And why? What do they base that on? That little joke. Well, this never happened to the other guy. Okay,
Yes.
that was a joke. But the fact is, he gets married, she dies.
Yeah.
Diana Rigg is my Bond girl. Just saying.
Uh-huh.
And that is revisited by other Bonds afterwards, which establishes that all the pre-Craig Bonds are all in the same camp.
There's a callback in On Her Majesty's Secret Service when he's cleaning out his office and he's picking up little mementos, and then they play different theme songs from the older Bond movies saying, yes, he had been in Thunderball and Goldfinger
Bingo.
and From Russia with Love
Bingo,
and all
my
these
friend.
other ones, yes.
And we are basically making the distinction between the movies and the books, because obviously the books, Bond is Bond, you know. So
yes.
But
There are
and Michael's sitting there like, Troy.
Look, I'm just going to say, because we're about to launch into this, why is it that George Lazenby is considered an underdog for only doing one, and he's loved by the fans? Timothy Dalton only got 2 out of his intended 3 to 5 films. 4, whatever it was.
4, yeah.
And
you can't even remember how many he did.
No, there was an intended 4, but they didn't get to make the other 2.
Intended 4. But the thing is that, like, he was supposed to be Bond for Honor Matt. They wanted him for that one, going all the way back to that, and he said, "I'm too young." He walked away from it before, like, he didn't take the role when they offered it to him. So, like, it's like a whole thing, and yet the fans are like, "Yeah, Dalton sucks," and I'm like, "No, he doesn't. Dalton's actually really, really good, and he's also the physical embodiment of the book character." And
I'm looking for cover here. Netter, who's your least favorite James Bond?
Timothy Dalton.
Okay, I am going to defend.
She
Michael
has a
here.
personal reason against him, but at the same time, those of you that were here for my liquid lunch earlier today know that my problem with Timothy Dalton is that he wasn't Pierce Brosnan, right? So those of us that were big fans back in the day were like, Pierce Brosnan was the fan favorite to play James Bond, and what kept him from being James Bond? Tell me, experts. Why wasn't Pierce Brosnan?
I know why. I'm sure Michael
James
does.
Bond.
I know.
Boomer, but let's give it to Boomer. Boomer, what is it?
He was on Remington Steele. The ratings were going downhill, and they were already talking to him about Bond. The ratings for Remington Steele went up. They didn't cancel the show, and he was stuck tied to the Remington Steele show and couldn't do Bond because
even though they didn't do another damn season.
Well, I don't know. They must have done something.
Screw those people.
I think Dalton's a good Bond. I disagree.
Michael's typing. That means he's got something to say, and we're not.
I have nothing against Timothy Dalton as Bond. I think here's how critics used to go by. Connery's the tough Bond. Roger Moore's the funny Bond. Timothy Dalton's the serious Bond. And some people would say that Pierce Brosnan was the vanilla
porta
Bond.
potty, which looks very much like a police public call box, if you aren't aware. Just saying.
Aged Boomer is correct. Let him cook, Troy. Let him cook.
No, I'm trying to say one criticism was Pierce Brosnan was the vanilla Bond, which I found insulting because he's actually one of my favorite Bonds. But Timothy Dalton's the serious Bond. Roger Moore's the funny Bond. I don't know what they called Lazenby. I think that was just when people were starting to look back on Lazenby and trying to give him a fair shake in retrospect. There are problems with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, though, because it actually follows the book, which means the continuity between that and You Only Live Twice doesn't make sense because in You Only Live Twice, he faces Blofeld face to face, and then we get to On Her Majesty's Service, and he's undercover as a professor. It's like, I know what you look like, but they pretend like Blofeld doesn't know who he is. It's a little, but that's only because it almost feels like they should have had that been like a reboot, and just we're going to do another 5 Bond movies.
Thank you, Mark Daly. Yes,
anyway,
making my point for me. I appreciate that. Good point.
Anyway.
But No. I completely lost because there was something I wanted to go back to Michael for, and now I've completely forgotten.
Now, I was on Soundtracks with Birdman doing The Living Daylights, and he did make a point about something. For many young men, Gen Xers being introduced to Bond, Dalton was their Bond. He was the first one they were introduced to as the character. So he does hold a place in the minds of a lot of Gen Xers as their Bond. For me, it's Pierce Brosnan because that's the Bond I was introduced to. But yes.
I wanna ask you blokes a quick question. I know we probably covered this on the last stream, but it's been a year and a lot of drinks, so I don't remember. Where are we on Never Say Never Again?
We already talked about that last time, and I don't remember.
I know we did. I'm asking you to recap it for me.
I think it's a bad remake of Thunderball. That's what I think, but Michael may differ on me.
No, I don't. And I also think it's hilarious that we're supposed to kick this off with a discussion of the two Dalton films, and Troy has already brought up On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Never Say Never Again. He is dancing around this topic like it's almost like having to talk about an ex-girlfriend in front of your wife or whatever. It's like he will not discuss this. And it's like, you know what, Your Honor, I hold him in contempt of court. I hold him in contempt.
Dalton will get his due. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Get the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Presentation. There we go.
Yes. So where are we here? That's the
starting with The Living Daylights. Timothy Dalton.
There are a lot of great posters for this.
This was, I think, maybe the only Timothy Dalton film I saw.
Okay. This, of course, is based on a Bond short story of the same name. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how closely the film follows it. But it has one of the greatest. What do they call those pre-title sequences?
Just sort of like the cold open.
The opener, yeah, it's wonderful. I think it starts with what is it? The SAS versus MI6 because they're doing a training operation, and I think I could be wrong. Was it the SA? They had recently had that big success story with the Falklands, right? So they were big in the news. So they decided, hey, let's have Bond and the other MI6 agents, train with the SAS. Yes,
1987.
87.
Okay.
And it's really neat. And then suddenly some of the MI6 agents keep getting bumped off. Like, I think someone sends down a little flag and it's like, you're dead. He's like, what? And then he looks up and the guy cuts his cord and he goes flying off the
little flag. Stand by.
Good.
Okay.
It deleted, Boomer actually could kick me out of the stream. That's why he's the designated driver.
At any rate, Michael's
That's true too.
Okay,
she's the bouncer. She can bounce me anytime she wants to.
What is that?
It's what was sent down the thing.
What does it say?
Smiet spionum, death to spies.
Yes, which is the famous saying for the Soviet spy agency SMERSH. I got very excited. I might have gotten excited if I'd read the books because they danced around SMERSH in the Bond movies. They didn't want to use them. I think they were afraid of escalating Cold War tensions. That might have been why. Because in the original Bond novels, you have all these horrible criminals around the world doing bad things, but they're all sort of working for SMERSH, which is this horrifying Soviet apparatus behind the Iron Curtain, and you even get to see a little bit in From Russia with Love. You get to see it, full on what's going on behind the Iron Curtain, and it's terrifying. But I do love the introduction, and I think he hears the guy scream, and then suddenly one of the MI6 agents turns around, and it's Timothy Dalton, and there's this wonderful chase sequence where he just goes after this guy who's doing the killings, and he will not let up. He jumps on the back of a car.
And he got a lot of trouble for that with the insurance people.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, because everybody needs to remember that when they came off of Roger Moore, one of the characters that was big in cinema at that point was Indiana Jones. And so in the process of trying to bring the movies back to the novels, making it more harder edge and more realistic, they turned around and they wanted to work in more actual stunts. Well, Roger Moore was very open in a charming way about the fact that he didn't like doing stunts, and so he had stunt doubles do everything.
Right.
Timothy Dalton, on the other hand, he had studied all the books. He really studied the literary character.
Right.
And he wanted to be on screen as much as possible. And there were a few shots where apparently he's really on the top of that truck in Gibraltar until he got caught. And then the insurance people were like, hey, what are you doing? Like the next location, if we find out that you let him do that again, you're going to be in trouble. So he did a lot of his own stunts, but in Gibraltar in particular, he got away with a lot on the top of that truck. Like,
it makes me wonder how Tom Cruise gets away with all the things he does. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an exciting intro sequence, and then we get our title sequence, The Living Daylights, and then I think it goes directly into the Soviet Union, where he's trying to get someone out of there who's defecting, right? Who I think works for the Soviet spy agency.
Right.
But there we go. That's another good profile picture of him. Let me
Michael,
see.
do you recognize the sidearm he's got there?
Yes, that's the Walther PPK.
What is the caliber of that weapon?
32. Also 7 point something millimeter equivalent, but it's 32.
That is incredibly impressive to me. That is for such a tiny weapon, that's a decent caliber.
They explain the origin of that in the book. I think he starts out using a Beretta, and then I think it jams on him in From Russia with Love, and it almost costs him his life. And in the next novel, M's like, "No, you're getting a different gun." And like the arms guy came, what do you think of the Beretta? And like, I don't want to say the arms guys. It's something very insulting about men that use the Beretta and stuff. And Bond was angry.
Well, they took that scene and put it at the beginning of Dr. No, I think, didn't they?
I think so. They did like a abbreviated version of that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this for the Bond movies, even though they don't always follow the books, they take stuff from the books and sometimes from one book and put it in a different movie. So they do kind of follow things.
If you at all into pew pews, make sure you're following Brandon Herrera, the AK guy. He roasts bad guns. Just
So our Bond girl this time around,
Miriam Dabo,
sister of Olivia Dabo.
Are they sisters or are they cousins?
Oh, I thought they were sisters, but maybe I'm.
I thought they were sisters too.
I'll look.
Yeah, look it up because they look very similar. And that's a positive. They are both.
Yeah,
who I believe is a
they're cousins. They're cousins.
Oh, they are cousins. Okay.
Yeah.
Accomplished.
I knew they were related. I thought they were cousins.
She plays an accomplished Russian cellist in this, I think. Yeah. Yes.
By the way, Michael won't bring this up, but I will. Michael's got a video about a custom Lego set that he did that involves this film, this character, that car.
And also, I have a thing about the Scalextric slot car sets with the new official Living Daylights Aston, and I do a whole thing.
Folks, there's a reason I tell you. Make sure you are subscribed to RetroBlasting.
And we have a nice, great chase scene with the Aston Martin. I believe,
we do.
Soviet Union, I believe. Where is it? Are they out there?
Whereas I'd just like to point out, On Her Majesty's Secret Service had a process screen Cool Runnings bobsled chase, which sucked. So just letting everybody
Fair enough. Real quick, Michael, on that Lego video, do you have a link on that video to where people can find the formula?
I'll post the link in the chat if I'm allowed. So
you're allowed.
Okay.
Or I can do it.
Well, no. I mean, he means if he's got rights, I got to make sure he's got a blue wrench.
Right.
He does not. Give me a second, and I will make sure that you do.
All right, let me go back to the.
Where is it? Add as moderator. There we go.
Now, I'm trying to figure out what the plot of this is. There's a lot of Soviet intrigue, but it's not what you think. This guy who's defecting from Smersh may not be all he seems. He may have his own self-interest that doesn't go with either the Soviet Union or the Western powers. Let's see. Okay, why does Theater Pop?
I don't think they ever said, did they, guys? Smersh?
What?
What does
What's it
SMERSH
stand
stand for?
I don't know, but I don't know. It's the Soviet spy agency. It's like their underground
It
underground
probably
spy
stands for
agency.
something in Russian that
Yeah,
we
that's
don't
what
know.
I think it did. And
Real quick, influencer is not an occupation. By the way, welcome. So glad that you're here. He says, "Why does theater popcorn always taste better than microwave popcorn?" I hate to tell you, because it starts out fresh, ends up stale, and it never has those weird chemicals that microwave popcorn has in it. That's why.
yes,
And here's the link to the custom Lego Aston Martin V8. Do you talk about how they can find the formula to make that if they're Lego people?
I direct everybody to the place.
I figure you probably do. Yeah.
Actually, microwave popcorn in the bags, because you know how it says put them in this side up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the bottom part that makes it actually,
it's got iron filings in it.
It's got chemicals and stuff in there,
Mhm.
which is why it makes the popcorn taste different.
Yeah,
because those chemicals get into the popcorn.
It's not good for you, people. Stick to the tried and true method. All the fat. That's what makes it taste good. If you don't want the fat, don't eat the popcorn.
No, just use an air popper.
Well,
there's nothing in that.
Okay, anyway. So Joe Don Baker is one of the villains in this. Did we like him as a Bond villain, Michael?
Joe Don Baker is an understandable butt of cinematic jokes. Like Mystery Science Theater, I think, they rightfully sort of focused on him for a long time.
Yes.
I would say that it's fortunate that Living Daylights actually has two main villains.
Yes.
So that you can, really three when you think about it. It's got the two conspirators and then the henchman Heavy, which also, while Bond kind of started that a little bit, this particular Bond movie, I've always felt that they kind of borrowed a little bit from the success of Indiana Jones, where they're like, okay, well, we have some villains, but then we also need like a big guy villain for Bond to fight at some point. And I absolutely love the way they do it. Like they apply it to Bond. So, Bond inspired. What's that?
I was going to say, we got a popcorn talk in the chat, and I do need to address this. If you guys want to get as close as you can to movie theater popcorn, get yourself a Whirly Pop, okay? You got to use coconut oil.
Yes.
And what is that salt? That orange salt Flavor Cal.
Popcorn salt.
Flavor Cal. You can find it on Amazon. You use that. Then, honestly, I'm old school. I use real butter, but you can get that Orville Redenbacher like oil stuff, which is what the theaters use.
Just
want to help out our theater loving people.
I tell you
what theaters use? Because I used to work for Sony Theaters.
She knows.
It's this orange block. It's a mixture of like their butter flavor and salt.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it would we put it in the hopper with the popcorn kernels, and it would just melt and cover everything.
Cool.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but I did want to help out the popcorn lovers.
No, I was just going to say I got fancy Amish popcorn for Christmas. I'm going to have to make it one of these days. Yes.
I'll tell you what, that Amish popcorn is the best.
It looks very fancy.
Have you tried what is that, ladyfinger popcorn?
No. Does it taste like ladyfingers?
No.
Oh.
It is these little bitty tiny. They look like wheat is what they look like.
Okay.
And they pop. They're little bitty tiny, but there's almost no like leftover kernel.
Okay.
That's why I originally got it, because Netter, it gets stuck in her teeth and she kind of gags.
All right.
The opposite end is the truffle popcorn, which is the really big stuff. That's what you want to get if you're mixing it with like a caramel or a cheese.
I've heard of that.
Something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, guys. This is tangentially a movie related, so I did want a cinema popcorn. Go on.
Bond goes to Afghanistan and joins with the freedom fighters that are going up against the Soviet Union, our former allies from back in the 80s. And, well, you know what happens later on.
Let's not go down too
also,
far down
also
that
Rambo
road.
3 has a similar plot, but yeah, he
yes,
he
it does. Yes,
yes.
It was the time politically we were living in. We were on the other side.
We were allies of theirs. Yes,
yeah. Well, you know, that tells you a little bit about the post-Reagan era. That's all I'm going to say about the.
Well, Reagan was still president.
87, Reagan's still president.
Yeah, this is a Reagan era Bond movie.
Wasn't this after he got shot though? The deep state was in charge.
Yeah, but no,
in charge.
This is no. The whole Reagan. I'll put it this way: Bond doesn't do a lot of womanizing in this movie. There's a thing with the woman at the beginning, like she wants a real man, and he falls in there and he says, I'll be there in 1 hour. And he says, better make that 2 when the woman gives us champagne. Now we don't, maybe it's a lewd that maybe they do get up to some
for those of you
not.
who think that, you know, that political messaging started, you know, within the last 10 years.
Okay.
No.
But again, it's fine, because even in the books, he doesn't always get the girl, or even, yeah, he is a womanizer in the books, but it's not to the degree you see in the movies. I'll say that. Usually it's one woman per book most of the time.
And this is why, you know, again, post Lazenby, once he loses his wife, I don't think he really falls for the women. You know, I think he had one and he's done, and now it's just for fun.
Anyway,
and those rhymes were intentional, by the way.
There she is. They're in the full
here's our Lawrence of Arabia film. That's
basically
right.
Yes. In fact, yeah, there might be some allusions there. So I'm trying to think. I know that there is a very exciting thing on a back of a cargo plane with him fighting the villain.
Yeah.
On top of, yes.
It's an incredible stunt. It's an incredible a bit of stunt work, and like, we haven't seen anything like that in a Bond movie in several years when this came out. Like, after the
Tom Cruise was James Bond, we would. Just saying.
Who?
If Tom Cruise was James Bond, we would.
Why would we want that?
No, I'm just saying.
Tom Cruise is like the most American guy, so we don't want him as James Bond, you know, right?
It's you know, between the gunplay in this movie, the car chase, like, there's only a very few small moments where they couldn't quite let go of the Roger Moore-ness yet. They weren't ready, but they actually cut it down significantly, because there was a deleted scene in the Tangier sequence where they have him throw a carpet over some, like, you know, phone lines, and he slides down it, and people looking above think that he's like on a flying carpet, and they wisely cut that because that's a very Roger Moore kind of gag, and they were massaging the action because they wanted it to be more, dare I say it, Indiana Jones. I mean, Bond inspired Indiana Jones, and then its success sort of helped Bond reinvigorate itself. And that net stunt on the back of that cargo plane is really good. Like, it's really, really good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. But this was Timothy Dalton's introduction. Was this your first Bond, Michael? I'm curious about.
No, my first Bonds were Dr. No, Goldfinger, and For Your Eyes Only on VHS, and I also watched all the other Roger Moore and Connery films on the ABC Sunday Night Movie. So
this is what drives me nuts about Michael, because when you ask him a question, it could just as easily be me answering the question. We have chewed so much of the same ground.
Mm-hmm.
From a pop culture standpoint, it's scary.
But I was thrilled that this Bond came out, because it was these two Bond films. We'll get to the next one soon. These were my first Bond films in the theater.
Okay.
And so I'm just, you know,
damn, that's probably right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. My first James Bond in the theater was Never Say Never Again. Sorry, it just was.
Why are you apologizing?
I do think I am a couple years older.
You don't have to apologize for wanting to go see a Bond movie with Sean Connery. It was
no. It's not wanting to. It just happens to be.
Look, I get it. Look, I'm starting to understand now why you like one-off Bond because your first Bond was bootleg Bond. I get it. I get it.
No, it wasn't my first Bond. It was my first Bond in the theater.
Right, in the theater, right.
Yeah. So,
it's like my first Bond was Sean Connery. My second was Roger Moore. And I remember looking at him going, wasn't that the Saint?
Yes, he was. That's why they wanted him.
Oh, that's my girl.
I mean, and Never Say Never Again came out in 1983, which means that went up against Octopussy.
Yep. So
I guess in a way I could argue that you made the better choice, Troy.
Wait, are you saying that Never Say Never Again is a better film than Octopussy in your opinion?
I mean, come on. I mean, like
the
movie ended on an Aladdin set from the 50s. What are we talking about? Like,
I don't even really remember Octopussy that well. So I mean, I saw that one on cable, by the way.
Can I quote Edgar Wright? He said, "Why do we need Austin Powers in a world where Octopussy exists?" That's what he said. Anyway, all right, but Timothy Dalton, this was his big debut, and I'm curious as to how the audience at the time received him. I know that Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, they weren't big on him, but the problem is they didn't like anybody after Connery. They would pick on even some Roger Moore movies. So,
but here's the funny part: if you look at Ebert's review specifically of Dalton's Living Daylights, and then you go and you read Ebert's review of Casino Royale.
Yeah,
it is the most hypocritical crap you'll ever read, because he literally praises Daniel Craig for everything he rode Dalton out on a rail for.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I see. So tell me again, Roger, how you just weren't quite ready for this yet. Like, you were
Michael, you are too focused on consistency. You did the same thing with the Red Letter Media guys. You want everybody to be consistent.
You're damn right I do. You're damn right I do.
Amen, brother. I'm playing with you, and I love you for it.
Now, here is, are we ready to move on? Or do you have anything else to say about Living Daylights?
Go ahead.
Living Daylights is my favorite Bond film. I just want to say that outright. So
we're moving on to a movie which, in my opinion, gets derided by many, but I actually love the next movie. I'll say this. Wait a minute. My first book. What does it say?
And our film is the.
I think the theater was first Bond movie in the theater was Octopussy.
I expected something very different. Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind that these titles were clickbait for their time.
Yes.
Maud Adams was the female lead. Am I correct?
Yes.
Beautiful woman.
She was also in Mount the Golden Gun. It's the first time they reused a Bond girl, which was interesting. Not the same character, same actress.
Right.
Yes.
Well, no, of course. Yeah.
So moving on to License to Kill.
Mm-hmm.
I like this movie a lot. The villain in it.
Yeah.
There's the Simpsons gag with Mendoza on The Simpsons, right? And it's like Mendoza, and it's like this extra evil drug lord from South America and all the McBain movies. And I swear they must have based him off the Bond villain in this movie, Sanchez. He has to be.
Fair
just this extra evil South American drug lord.
And I do have to say that I must take back something that I said earlier. I know I must have seen this movie because there was a comic book sequel to this called Licensed Revoked, which I have in my collection. I actually have a lot of. I may have all of
that was toyed to be the title of the movie, but they thought people wouldn't get it.
Well, it is the title of the movie in, or no, they wanted it to be the title of the movie. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
License Revoked was aside from the film lore, they used it as the title of a comic book that I got that was a kind of sequel to this, and I am not too proud to admit that I did a lot of tracings of James Bond out of this to learn how to draw James Bond. Just young Troy being young Troy, just saying.
Yep.
But here we have Bond and his good friend Felix Leiter, a CIA agent from
Felix
Texas.
Leiter has been played by a vast
Yes, number of people.
spectrum of ages and colors of
Yes.
people.
But for this is a Felix Leiter returning. This is
Yeah.
the Live and Let Die Felix Leiter,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, he came back. There's this great sequence of them going after I forget his first name, but the villain Sanchez and
Robert Davi.
Great villain
Mhm.
in this. I really love Robert Davi in this.
Are they
He
wearing
kind of hammers up and is a
tuxedos
little
in
more
this scene?
comical to play off of Dalton's more seriousness, I think, in this. And they actually catch him by hooking a what is it? They it's like the thing they use in Dark Knight Rises where they hook the thing on the end of the plane and lift it up
Right.
and like basically get him that way by having their plane trap his plane.
Yeah.
Because I guess he's in U.S. water, so they can finally nab him, but he's in the air, so they have to nab him in the air.
Yeah.
I think David Pensack is trying to poke me because he knows that I will go off on marketing. The marketing for these movies, for any movies. What the hell is wrong with the marketing departments of most of these studios these days?
I thought it had a great trailer, though. I'll say that this movie had a great trailer. How it has like the digital watch and like the countdown has begun. It's like a cat, like one of those fancy digital watches, and then it says when you cross them, your number is up. I think it says, and then it turns into 007 on the watch. It was neat. I remembered that.
There you go.
But and also this happens. He's going after his, Felix Leiter's going after Sanchez on his on the day of his wife's. He and his wife are getting married. It's on their wedding day, but he has to go nab this guy. So they're in their wedding outfits trying to nab this guy, and then they parachute into the wedding. It's after they catch the bad guy. It's almost like a little movie into itself, and it ends there at the wedding. And there we go. And there's Robert Davi.
Actor, I recognize him.
He's a good actor. He's one of the ones that's now on the. I'm not going to say he's on the outs in Hollywood because he's still finding parts, but I think he came out as leaning right of center. So, but yeah,
he was in Die Hard's Special Agent Johnson or whatever.
He's one of those character actors that you just know that face, right?
You remember the show Profiler? Remember the show Profiler?
Yes, but I didn't really watch.
He was on there. He was the main guy, the leading man on that. I mean, it was really the woman show, but yeah, he was on that.
He was also in Goonies.
That's right. He was one of the Fratelli.
Yeah.
Look, instead of a cat, he has a gecko.
No, iguana. That's an
iguana. My mistake. Okay, you're right.
Iguanas. If you own an iguana. Be prepared to allow them to have a place where they can climb. They like to climb to the highest place, so they will climb your drapes. They will climb your bookshelves. Maybe find something they can climb to make them happy. Real quick, Curtis Selby is quoting the song by Sir Paul McCartney. There you go, man. There you go.
So
Curtis, I am thinking about for the members for the channel members. I'm thinking about starting something on Rumble, maybe a karaoke night or something like that. Just a thought.
Anyway. There's Felix Leiter's wife, but they just married that day. There's a wonderful.
Who's the actress? She's cute.
I forget. She's been in stuff. I think she was on maybe nighttime soaps. I forget her name off the top of my head. But she actually gives Bond here's the garter. That means you'll get married. And he kind of says he doesn't want it. He's okay, thanks, and he walks off. And then Felix tells her he was married once. Oh, I didn't know. I'll tell you about it sometime. And they kind of walk
there you
off.
go, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for bringing it up.
And
let me just say, blonde Bond girl. I've got to type. Oh, this guy looks familiar.
Twin Peaks.
Big Ed.
Yes, and he plays the guy in charge of handling Sanchez's prison transport. Then Sanchez says, "I'll give you $10 million if you get me out of here," and he betrays, and he shoots the other guards, and he gets Sanchez out of there. And so basically, he betrays his oath, basically. And the first thing Sanchez wants to do is, "I'm going to get revenge on Felix Leiter on his wedding day." We don't see it.
Help me out. I've kind of lost track because let's face it,
all
I'm
over the
blotto.
place. Okay,
what movie was this?
This is License to Kill.
License to Kill. I know I've seen this. I guess I've forgotten. But Everett McGill is in a movie. I've got to revisit this film.
Yeah, he's the one that betrays. He's like I don't know I think he's an FBI or CIA agent that betrays the organization for money, basically, for Sanchez. And then Sanchez he helps Sanchez kidnap Felix Leiter, and he lowers Felix Leiter into a shark tank so his legs will get eaten off by the shark. Okay. Which is actually something.
That's boring. Didn't the sharks have like laser beams on their head or something?
Okay. Very funny.
Sorry. Come on, give me a break. You can't expect the drunk to come up with good jokes, okay? I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, but no, it's actually rather horrible. This happened in one of the Bond books too. Felix
I'm
Leiter
actually more concerned that he's wearing a suit and they're dunking him in water. That bothers me.
And then Bond finds Felix lying in the apartment, all bloody, and a note on there saying he disagreed with something that ate him. It's actually from one of the Bond books too, because and then of course he finds Felix Leiter's wife, and she's been killed too, and So Bond decides, I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to catch this guy and get revenge for my friend. M says, "You will not do that. You are not going off on some personal vendetta." And this actually goes in with the books. M does not like the idea of agents having personal vendettas. I think it's about, yes, they have to go and sometimes kill these bad guys, but it's not personal. He doesn't like it when that goes on. Go ahead.
That makes sense. No, I was going to bring up, this is a plot point in the License Revoked, where he goes kind of rogue because of that. Yep. But that beside the point. I don't remember what I was going to say, so never mind. That's the only
okay. He. What is it? Oh yeah, and of course he starts. Oh man, do you remember this scene, Michael?
Yeah.
This is the pressure scene. So Bond actually ends up infiltrating Sanchez's organization, because Sanchez doesn't know who Bond is, because he never saw him during the initial capture. So he pretends to be some guy. "I want to work for you, Sanchez. I'm a probable eliminator," and he starts setting things up, making it look like Sanchez's old men are trying to betray him. And
well, he uses the truth to his advantage. So
yes.
he tells Sanchez that he used to be MI6, but that he's no longer. He's a disavowed agent. And when they look it up, sure enough, they're like, yeah, he is a disavowed agent. So he's not lying.
Yeah.
So he brings him into his confidence. The entire movie was modeled broadly after Shakespeare's Othello, where Iago comes in and destroys the entire organization from within. He undermines the confidence and trust of the king, in this case Sanchez, toward all of his own people, and in doing so, he destroys Sanchez's watertight operation. Sanchez starts taking out his own guys because of little things that Bond does in the background.
This is a rather gruesome death where he shoves one of his henchmen into this pressure thing, and he says, "It's not my money." He's like, I didn't betray, and like Sanchez isn't listening. And then they turn the pressure up, and then he breaks I think he breaks the pipeline, and then the guy just explodes because of the low pressure,
Pressure, yeah.
Which I think they had to censor this in some versions of this movie. They couldn't show the whole thing.
I'm sure in England they probably did at the time. They had stricter censorship in England.
Incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. Q actually comes out into the field and helps Bond, which I thought was interesting. He actually goes against the orders and sneaks and helps Bond, gives him some stuff. Let me see here. There's Robert Davi again. He has this huge Cocaine Factory. I believe Wayne Newton is also a front for another organization. Like is he some kind of televangelist or something? I don't know.
Dankeschön, darling, Dankeschön.
We have a young Benicio del Toro's in this as the main henchman.
Holy cow! Holy cow!
Here we have our Bond women this time round. I believe one of these actresses was on Law and Order for a number of years, right?
That's Carrie Lowell. Yes, she's on Law and Order.
She is. I think she's also either CIA or FBI or something. She
Law and Order, which we'll be
yes.
talking about on Geek Yeezers this Sunday.
Yes, we will.
Yes, she's she's a CIA agent.
And that's Sanchez's mistress. And
Elizabeth Soto, who would go on to be in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, that's right.
You're welcome.
I didn't realize that's her. She's a little more mature in Mortal Kombat. It looks great though. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. And this is known as the Cursed Bond movie. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew this. You might have watched the DVD special features on this. Troy, you may not know about this.
No.
They started film. One of the last action sequences is them Bond going up against a bunch of oil tankers and fighting Sanchez's men, and it's like dueling oil tankers on this road that apparently is cursed in Mexico. I believe it was in Mexico.
Yeah.
Where I think a busload of nuns died on it or something. There've been all sorts of horrible accidents on this road, and stuff started going wrong on the production. And they film stuff on the production, right? And then they also take still pictures of the effects. Like you'll have like the scripts they'll take still shots as in addition to shooting on a camera. This doesn't show up on the film. This shows up in a still shot. What does that look like coming out of the flames?
Looks like a hand.
Yes, this is an actual from the production. Now maybe it's just a coincidence, right? Or maybe there's something evil on this highway.
Well, they also had a lot of production problems shooting that sequence on the highway. A lot of things were going wrong.
Yep.
Fortunately, nobody on the main cast ended up being injured, but I think a few people got injured in close calls during that whole thing.
I do think that a lot of these pyrotechnic scenes, sometimes they don't think them through the way they should.
But they kind of made a point, I'm going off on a tangent, in this movie that Bond doesn't have quips, so they had Sanchez making the funny quips. There's a scene where Bond is hanging over against the cocaine shopper and about to fall in after one of the bad guys fell through and got this, grinded up. And she says, "What do I do?" And he says, "Shut the bloody machine off!" He doesn't have like a quippy thing to say. But no, this is apparently, and they mentioned this one documentary I was watching that this did not do well at the box office. This came out in the summer of '89, and it didn't do well. I don't know why. I think Michael or someone was mentioning the
market. It's because '89 was the cinematic traffic jam summer. Batman, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, Lethal Weapon 2, Star Trek 5. Like it was just traffic jam at the movie theater.
Damn. Bond. That year, I spent a lot of time in the cinema. That's true.
We did a stream on summer of '89. We must have brought this up. Yeah,
I was in the theater. I was in the theater every weekend that summer somehow. Like I couldn't figure out how to.
Were you back in the States at that point, Michael?
It was the year before we left. We left the summer of '90. So
gotcha.
Yeah, but it was a crazy year, and I remember we almost missed seeing License to Kill because of that. My dad and I raced off to, remember this, everybody in the 80s? The Dollar Theater that gets them right before they leave.
Yeah.
They get them after first run. We saw License to Kill at the Dollar Theater, and I remember that was the first time I learned about aspect ratios because we sat in the theater, the lights went dark, and the movie started. It was a full house. It was at night. And the Bond sniper scope thing came up, and it was this oval. It was this tight oval with a really tall, slender man Bond, and I went, I think something's wrong with the projector. And they were like, and it took a second, and then I'll never forget. It went through most of like the title sequence. We had to watch the whole opening in that stretched format. I'll never
Oh
forget
no!
how squished that Jeep was that pulled up with Talissa Soto. Like it was like,
Oh, for
and then
crying out loud!
and do you know when it finally like corrected
When?
itself in the intro sequence when they're doing all of the amazing Maurice Bender artwork and stuff, the
Right.
ladies and the this and the that. One of the last shots in that title sequence is Talissa Soto's face sort of obscured halfway with a camera, like a traditional
Yes.
still camera. Well, that still camera was oval, and then suddenly something went whip on the screen and it became a circle. So I saw the entire opening sequence in the theater, like vertically stretched, it squished, and then it corrected itself. That's my dumb License to Kill story, but yeah.
Damn.
Fun movie.
So, and unfortunately, this is it for Dalton. They had 2 more movies planned, but they didn't bother. They didn't get around to making them. One was going to be Bond versus an assassin in Japan, which would have been interesting because it might have been still like when Japan was the hotbed of economic activity era. That was probably the one for 91. And then I think the one they had planned for 93, because they would usually try to do them every 2 years, was actually going to be a Bond kind of origin story of how he was trained as a 00 agent and went on his first mission, I think, right? That was going to be the other one they were going to do. And they were going to see who Bond's mentor was, who taught him how to be a spy. But neither of those movies got made. And it's a pity because they sounded interesting. I would have loved to have seen, especially the Japan one. But I think and then I heard too, someone else told me, or maybe it was you who mentioned this, that there was a court tie-ups with Bond as well.
Yeah.
That
after this, Eon Productions got into a legal battle. I can't remember over what, and Dalton was basically put in a holding pattern, and it dragged out. And then he said one of the happiest days of his life was because he realized, it took from 90 to 95 for that all to iron out, because GoldenEye didn't show up till 95, or I guess 94. So from 89 to 94, that's half a decade, right? So he aged out during that time, and they wanted him for more films, but they couldn't get these legal rights undone. And Timothy Dalton said in an interview that one of the biggest reliefs of his life was when he was driving through London one morning to get to a meeting or whatever you want to call it, and he looked up at a billboard and it was for GoldenEye, and Pierce Brosnan had the gun, and and he said, I'm free of the because the thing was, he liked playing Bond, but all 5 years of him waiting, every time he would do an interview for another project, everybody would just ask him when the next Bond is coming out, and he was like, I don't know, I have no control over that, and he said it was the most freeing moment because he was finally out from under a situation that he had no ability to affect. So, yeah.
So,
Mark, as long as you were on that picture, in addition to 2 Bond girls, the movie had 2 songs. License to Kill is the opening. If you asked me, 2 in the end credits, both sung by Gladys Knight.
No, one sung by Patti LaBelle.
Oh, one sung by Patti LaBelle.
Yeah, Gladys Knight sings the opening License to Kill. Patti LaBelle sings If You Asked Me To.
There you go.
So.
Fair enough.
All right. So, and then we go to the 1990s and mark a new era for James Bond and a new face. And I'm going to give you the big reveal. And that would be James Bond Jr. I'm sorry. I have to do this.
I am aware of this, though I've never seen a freaking episode of this.
Michael, are you aware of this? Or we'll just skip on, because what happened? How did this
I'm aware of it, but see, I moved to England at that point, and ironically, James Bond Jr. wasn't playing in England, of all places. It's almost like
that's not even ironic. That makes perfect sense.
It's just like, so I gladly missed all this. I was like, bye. So
this isn't, for starters, it's James Bond's nephew. So, like, it's his brother's son, which doesn't make any sense unless his brother was also named James, or maybe James Bond Never mind. I said the brother's wife. Never
Oh my
mind.
God, you're right.
No, let's not move. Let's move on. Okay, okay.
I don't want to think about this too hard.
It was silly. There's like Felix Leiter has a son. They're going to prestigious school. Villains such as Goldfinger and Doctor No and Jaws and
I
Oddjob
honestly
show
thought
up.
James Bond Jr. was James Bond as a kid. I didn't realize it was his friggin' nephew.
It would have made more sense for it to be his son. I mean,
Well, yes.
I'm starting to think of his brother's wife was named Sylvia Trench. I'm sorry. I gotta shut up. I always imagined Sylvia Trench was already married in those Connery movies because I'm saying, well, why aren't they together? They seem to. Oh wait, I bet she has an older rich husband. That's what I always assumed. All right. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know much about this car except we have Goldie Finger. That I guess is she related to Goldfinger, like Goldfinger's
This
daughter
is like
or niece.
Gem and the Holograms.
It has it, even though it's a '90s cartoon. It very much has that
truly
80s
outrageous.
style. It has that 80s style. Like Oddjob has like a gold chain around his neck. It's very strange. I watched some clips before this. Apparently, this also was a rights contention thing. Like I think that the Eon Productions didn't have TV rights to Bond, but they were trying to get them back so stuff like this didn't happen, and it's not canon.
This is probably the biggest problem with all of our franchises is the division of rights. I may do a stream about that next week. Bond Jr. looks like the gay love child of Bond and Fonzie from Happy Days.
Maybe.
You know what? I'm not sure I could argue that with you.
Anyway, it's kind of forgotten now. I'm sure it's one of these things Eon probably buried when they got a chance. So yeah, let's move on to, of course, our next true Bond movie, which is Goldeneye.
Is this the one where Famke Janssen tries to break his neck with her thighs?
Yes.
Okay, so I've seen this one, obviously.
Okay. This came out in '95. I did not see this in the theater, unfortunately, because I had not really yet gotten into Bond yet. But I was aware of the movie because I knew that Nintendo had gotten the film adaptation rights. And if you know Nintendo, it's very strange.
We're going to be talking a lot about Nintendo.
Well, that'll be on Sunday. In fact, recently the GoldenEye video game has made it into the Video Game Hall of Fame. That was a recent announcement, but I didn't.
I've heard very good things about this. I've heard about skins that weren't available that you can unlock in the
you can unlock Dalton Connery and Roger Moore. There was no Lazenby skin to unlock. Anyway,
they're bastards.
Anyway, but I'm just talking about the game. But my point is, though, I was aware of this movie because I was a Nintendo guy at the time, and I knew that they got a movie license, to make a game out of it. I'm like, Nintendo never does that.
Movie license to kill. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm sorry.
Well, no, they create their own IP. They don't buy licenses usually. It's not, the other time I knew that they did this was for a Popeye game they made in the early arcades. So it was odd that they bought the rights to this. Keep in mind, a lot of those Star Wars games that were Nintendo exclusives, Lucasfilm made them and sold them to Nintendo to publish, but Nintendo didn't actually have the rights to own those in perpetuity. They just had it for like a few years. So it's odd that they have this, this GoldenEye game. So I decided to catch it when it came to home video, and this was to be blunt, this is my first introduction to Bond, and we have Pierce Brosnan. And I have him there in the tank because I like the tank sequence in this movie, where he's driving around post-Soviet Russia over cars and stuff in a tank.
It's true, Mark. Given the choice, that's probably a decent way to go. Yeah, absolutely.
This is interesting. The movie has a great opener where it's 007 and Agent 006 infiltrating a Soviet chemical or bomb-making factory to blow it up. And you don't typically see this in Bond movies with them actually going directly into Soviets and directly killing Soviets. And it's because Cold War's over at this point when this movie's made, so we can do a flashback sequence of them going in and taking out this big Soviet facility. 006 doesn't make it out. He gets shot in the face, and Bond has to escape.
That's true. If you ever see a cold open with a 00 agent besides James Bond, you know they're not going to make it. into the main part of the film.
And if you ever see
Kandegawa Jet Girls,
and if you ever see
Slasher
Sean,
Fred, huh?
if you ever see Sean Bean in a movie with another leading man, you know Sean Bean's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah, yeah. That's a great point too.
That's always-
Slasher Fred says GoldenEye was the first to introduce the female version of M. Yes, that was so woke. It's all woke.
Well, it's fine, but
No, I'm playing, of course.
this is who we think is gonna be the villain for the movie, though. General Aramuma, or whatever his name was. I appreciate the actor they cast because he's just, I don't want to say he's messed up looking, but he has that scary face.
He is not a classically good looking type of guy.
Yeah, his face has character. I'll be nice. Anyway,
was I right, Michael? Was that Kandegawa Jet Girls?
Of course.
I gotta see that frickin' thing now.
Go with
every
God.
time I Google it up, all I get is the game, so I gotta check it out.
We have a new M.
Yeah.
I didn't pay enough attention. We had a new Moneypenny in the Dalton films, and then we got a new Moneypenny in these films. I like the Moneypenny from the Dalton movies, but yeah.
Yes. What was her name? The actress. Oh, I know it off the top of my head until just now.
To be fair, I like the Moneypenny from the Dalton era. In fact, I think I like all the Moneypennies, if I'm being honest.
The Moneypenny from the Brosnan era's name is Samantha Bond.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh,
Judi Dench is the new M, because I think basically when the post gets
vacated. Excuse me, Dom Judi Dench.
Dame Judi
Midnight's Edge's own Dom Judi Dench.
Anyway, and I remember she calls, you're a relic from the Cold War, a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, she says to Bond. And Bond's like, okay, whatever.
Guess I wasn't wrong. The woke was starting.
Famke Janssen.
Famke Janssen.
As a femme fatale.
I guess so.
she will kill you and get off on it anyway, but...
And you will too. I mean, if you gotta go.
Look, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't give a crap. I mean, how many times have I come up with an unpopular opinion? But I just think Famke Janssen in this movie was done a disservice. I think she ends up looking like a scare clown most of the time. I don't think she really looks all that alluring.
No, you're not wrong. I guess I'm basing my opinion of Famke Janssen.
She is a henchwoman.
She practically looks like a psycho mime. Like she's.
No, you're kind of right. Yeah.
Anyway, well, she's the villain. She's a villain. She's the henchwoman. Instead of a henchman in this movie, you have a henchwoman. And there's our love interest. I forget her name, but the two Russian ladies in this film, or at least they're supposed to be. And then there's the psychologist lady in the driving sequence at the beginning, but she doesn't last long, or at least not in the film. She doesn't get killed. And then we have Alan Cummings as a Russian hacker that keeps calling everybody slugheads. Crickets. Okay. Anyway,
wait, that guy looks familiar.
It's Alan Cumming.
Alan Cumming.
Oh, right.
Yes. Everyone's doing these wonderful fake Russian accents, or at least he is. Yeah. There's another scene.
Dude, I'm sorry. She kind of looks pretty good in this scene, and that's the scene we're talking about. So,
there are two scenes where she tries breaking him with her legs. Yes.
True.
And yeah, I don't know. And of course, we learn later on that the main villain of this movie is 006, wanting revenge on England. Right?
Yes.
Okay, it's fine.
His training went bad, I guess.
Yeah, well, it turns out his parents were... I think they were Germans that the Brits handed over to we're going to hand over to the Russians, but then his dad killed him, or himself and his mom, and they thought, well, he was too young to remember. No, he remembered, and he was, because basically it was at the end of World War II they were going to hand over people to the Russians, I think, or maybe it was Brits that were working with the other side. I forget. I forget the full story, but. And there's the video game. Of course,
you had to get the game in here.
I'm not going to talk about it long because we're here to talk about the movies. But this is an important
You're the gamer guy.
Of Bond history. In fact, in my opinion, this helped make Bond more popular among younger.
No, I agree. I never even played this game, but everything I've heard about it, this really does bolster the whole James Bond zeitgeist.
It was developed by Rare, which were, even though it's Nintendo, they were a British development team. So I think that was important too, that they had Brits working on this. And it was basically bringing the first-person shooter experience that was so popular on PCs. And I think people said this was the first time they think it really cemented that you can play first-person shooters also on consoles. And I'll just show you one little picture from the game. There's Pierce Brosnan. In fact, that's probably a cleaned up version from the remaster. It would have looked more blurry back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at those graphics and you're like, oh.
Did you like that video I sent to Troy? Did I see that video? You might have sent it to me. I don't know.
sent it to you.
Oh, you did. That was the thing on. Okay, I know what you're talking about the blowing on the cartridges. Yes, that was.
Yeah.
I think my response was sigh.
I would imagine.
Nintendo was still using cartridges at this time too. That's why they kind of lost to Sony.
I only understood that because we did the same thing with Atari 2600 cartridges.
What did you think of the soundtrack for the GoldenEye film, Michael? I know it had that great song by Tina Turner, which in fact, I love that whole intro sequence. In fact, I like certain Bond sequences. I try to say, who's the model in the silhouette? Who is she? But I can't find out who they are.
They'll never tell you. Yeah.
I believe the soundtrack was done by, what's his name, Eric Serra. Is that right?
It was a weird Bond soundtrack. It had like a metallic sound to it.
It was, I found the soundtrack to be rather lacking because
a lot of Bond fans don't like it, but
that opening scene after basically 6 years of not having a Bond movie, you have that opening scene end with him riding a motorcycle off a cliff to catch a falling Cessna before it crashes. He gets in there and he pulls the plane up. And you think, okay, we're finally going to hear the ba-da, da-da, da-da, and all we hear is no music. Like, it's just, I know. Look, I will sit there and say that it's so lame. Like, I'll sit there and say GoldenEye is the best Brosnan film because of some of the character dynamics and interactions that go on in the film that really tie back more, I think, to a Dalton flavor, but the soundtrack is the pits. Like, it's the only time.
Fact is, you could do a fan edit with a new soundtrack.
You could, you could, because there's basically like no music in the movie. I don't know how much they paid that guy, but man, he walked away laughing. All he did in most of the movie was just sort of these little hollow don 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 don, and then no music, and then like the only time the Bond theme plays is during the tank. So I bet you that's why Boomer likes the tank scene so much. So, doesn't realize it, because it's the only time you get the da 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 da, and that's it. Like, it's weak sauce, man.
I like the title track though, GoldenEye, Tina Turner. I thought that was
but those are separate and apart from the score.
That's true, and they're not supposed to be, because usually the score is supposed to riff off the title track, the title sequence.
Like Tomorrow Never Dies has a kick-ass score by Kevin Arnold. Like, it is an amazing Bond score. Mileage may vary about the title track from Sheryl Crow, but the score, I wish that score had been on GoldenEye with Tina Turner's soundtrack.
But the title track is fine. I don't, it's not offensive, at least,
I'm not saying it's offensive. I'm just saying, like, if I had to choose between Tina Turner and that one.
Yeah, I would choose the GoldenEye. But we have, this is Tomorrow Never Dies. And I will say this. I did appreciate the fact that back in the 90s, they were still on a 2-year release schedule. So, GoldenEye comes out in 95, then we get a fall release of Tomorrow Never Dies. And this was my first Bond movie I saw in a theater, was Tomorrow Never Dies. And this was a fun experience. Was it a bit lacking in some areas? Sure. I think all the Brosnan era ones are, because I think I don't want to say they're playing it safe. Like I kept saying, why aren't they building to something like the old Connerys did with Spectre? And I'm not even saying it had to be Spectre again. It could have been something else, but instead they're all these one-offs. But I didn't realize also at the time that they didn't have the rights to use Blofeld or Spectre anymore. This was kind of hidden behind the scenes. They lost the rights to those characters.
So as a side note, I talked about this on one of my weekly shows this week. This is a big problem with almost all of our franchises, and it's the rights issues. You can blame I don't know, Zack Snyder for Superman. You can blame, whomever you want for whatever franchise you don't like. But a big problem is owning part of the rights and not all of the rights. Superman has been destroyed by the lawsuits, the Siegel and Schuster versus DC Comics, and Superboy versus Superman, and what they have rights to and what they don't, what the TV can do and what the movies can do. James Bond has had this same problem, and now Lord of the Rings. What is that? POS Amazon series.
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power that has only the rights to some notes or something from a spiral binder that Tolkien did. And they don't have the rights to anything else. And so they're making crap up. This is what destroys franchises.
Do you see
split up rights issues?
You see who one of the Bond girls is?
Speaking of Superman,
Gary Hatcher.
That's Lois Lane, my friend.
Who is the wife of the main villain.
You can call her Desperate Housewife, but she's Lois Lane.
Played by Jonathan Pryce, who I believe is based off of Rupert Murdoch, probably with a little bit of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs thrown in. But it's mainly Rupert Murdoch. He's a media mogul.
Because these are modern day Bond villains. I talk about these people all the don't even get me started.
He owns a newspaper. He wants to start a war to sell newspapers. I think that's what the plot is, right? He wants to start a war between the United States and China, I think.
And
yes. Or is it England and China?
Ridiculous idea. Today it's like, yeah, that's pretty much the way the world works.
It might be Great Britain and China, actually, he's trying to start the war with, And so, of course, the Chinese send their own spy, played by Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh.
And she teams up with Bond in this movie. So, and I think it's interesting she's in this.
They were planning a spin-off for her.
No. You're thinking of a different character.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
This is the first time she went back to her real name, Michelle Yeoh, for this movie. Before that, she was known in Hong Kong as Michelle Khan.
Interesting.
I
really like her in this. I feel that I remember feeling at the time, and I guess I still do, that she's one of the.
Age, by the way.
She's a great what?
This woman does not age.
No, she doesn't. Yeah, but she was a great leading lady in Hong Kong films. I remember seeing her in the Jackie Chan movie Super Cop.
Yep.
I saw that in theaters because Jackie Chan movies were very big around this time too. Because we were finally starting to get a lot of these Hong Kong action movies.
She should have stayed away from Star Trek. That's the only blood.
I couldn't believe she's on. I mean, this is like a leading actress.
Well, when you're offered,
they backed up the truck of dollars to her door.
She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That was like an Academy Award winner.
I know.
Like you don't. Anyway, so
what was that one she won the Oscar for? The one with the sausage fingers. What was that?
The one
Everywhere All at Once.
The one where Short Round won the Oscar too.
Yes.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere.
Deservedly so, by the way.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I have not yet seen, but it is definitely on my to watch list. Yes.
I got very angry at this Bond movie because there's a scene where Bond is fighting some goons in like the paper factory, right? Or the press, and he throws one of them onto a newspaper and the blood gets splattered on the newspaper, and Bond says, "They'll put anything in the papers these days." I was mad. I said, "This was your perfect opportunity. What's black and white and red all over?" That should have been the quip, because the blood. You get it? Just never mind.
Right.
Okay, moving on to. Do you have anything left to say about Tomorrow Never Dies? Anyone?
No, but I did want to tell everybody that I looked into this real quick. The tank chase music in GoldenEye was rescored by somebody else because Eric Serra's score was so underwhelming all throughout.
There you go.
So why didn't they rescore the freaking opening with this guy too? Whatever. Anyway, but no, Tomorrow Never Dies. I fell asleep in the theater. Literally fell asleep in the theater. You got to remember something. I was a immediate Jackie Chan fan that came through. I came by way of Cynthia Rothrock, which Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock had their film debut in Yes, Madam together. in Hong Kong. So like
You've
I was
got
already
a video about that, in fact.
Yeah. So I was already watching all those Jackie Chan films in theaters every time they would come out, and I was so excited to see Michelle Yeoh in this, and I found the score is excellent. I own the score. I do have the movie just because you can get it for pennies. But I'm otherwise a 4-door car for Bond where he drives it from the back seat with an Ericsson car phone.
Yes.
Like, really?
Yes.
Like stuff like that. Just I think the premise of the movie is rather prescient. The premise of the movie becomes more valid every half decade, but I don't think it holds a candle to GoldenEye. I just don't.
Moving on to The World Is Not Enough, which might be my favorite of the Brosnan era movies. So
What?
I know. I already know what you're thinking in your head. I already know what you're thinking.
Wait, hold on, Boomer. Tomorrow Never Dies is Lawrence of Arabia compared to this movie. Like, are we really going there?
I like it, but I know what you're thinking. Look,
What I'm thinking.
This movie has, in my opinion, the best pre-title sequence of any Bond film. I don't care.
You clearly don't care because, oh my
god! It starts out with him getting money from a Swiss banker, and then an assassin kills the Swiss banker, but he gets the money back, brings it back to MI6. And what's neat about this is you get to see Bond kind of in his own element, just what he does when he's not on mission. And but there's a bomb in the money. It blows up some important British muckety-muck that's good friends with M, and Bond goes on a chase after the assassin all through London on this boat, and there's shooting, and there's explosions, and it's all in London. I find that fascinating. And then he catches up with the beautiful assassin lady, and she's trying to escape on the helicopter, and he finally grabs on. And she's like, don't. And she's pointing the gun up at the helium in the balloon. She's like, don't blow us up. And she goes. And she goes, I'll protect you. And she says, not from him. And then she blows up the whole balloon, and he gets thrown down, and like his arm gets damaged as he slides down. And
wait a minute, she shoots a helium balloon and it blows up. That
or whatever they were using, hydrogen maybe. Okay, whatever.
Boomer, you've glossed over something rather important.
Yes.
Tell the audience what happens when the boat goes underwater.
He straightens his tie.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Love it. You don't think that's funny. You think that's a Roger Moore thing, don't you?
It's literally a Roger Moore thing.
I like the fact that this is an experimental boat, and Q yells at him, "It's not finished yet!" And when he takes it out.
Real quick, I did want to mention, I may not have seen all of these James Bond films, but I have all of these James Bond films.
Well, there
eventually,
you go.
I will probably get around to watching every single one of them. That's my custom covers.
Wait. So are you doing a show, Troy, where you haven't watched the material that we're all commenting on?
If I haven't, see, it's some of these movies I said I didn't see, and then as we're talking about them, I'm going, oh, wait, that sounds familiar.
Look, all I remember is this, Michael. I remember this was after the summer of the Phantom Menace and all these other disappointments, and I'm like, I get to go around Christmas time and watch a halfway decent Bond film. Now, I don't know.
Let me explain for Michael's benefit.
You don't like this movie. I'm not talking about...
This is the same thing that happened.
Yes.
This is what happens, everybody, when you raise a generation on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I did not watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Do not bury yourself further, Boomer. You better align with millennials right now. Otherwise, it's going to look worse. No, seriously.
Okay. You have Sophie Marceau as Electra King.
Okay, wait. Hold on a second, guys.
Yes.
I do want to point out that we just got off of, I don't know, how many weeks was it, Boomer? Like 3-4 weeks we were talking about Doctor Who. And I pointed out that after, at Peter Davison, at the end of Peter Davison, we went into Colin Baker. And I hated Colin Baker as a doctor so much, I dropped out of Doctor Who until Paul McGann.
Yes.
Right? So, in fairness, did you catch that, In
You
fairness,
think I didn't catch it? Oh, keep going. Keep going. Let's see you cook.
I did the same thing with James Bond. Didn't like Timothy Dalton. Dropped out. I may have seen some Pierce Brosnan that I'd forgotten about, but I kind of tuned out. So I do need to go back and rewatch them, just like I did with Colin Baker. Give him a fair shake, and probably find out. Okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I remembered. Just saying where I'm at with something.
I see what's going on here. You brought me onto this show so that I would remember everything so that you don't have to watch it. Whereas I have to sit through 65 episodes of Bionic 6 to do my video, and that was hell on earth. And here we are, and here I am.
I can't even speak to friggin' Bionic 6. I know the theme tune.
I'm simply saying, do you think I wanted to
I know the theme tune because of your short.
Do you think I wanted to sit through those 65 episodes? Look at this. Christmas Jones, nuclear physicist? Really? This
Cameron
is
Diaz.
what we're talking about here?
Dude,
Denise Richards, not Cameron Diaz. Denise Richards.
People, if you're not following RetroBlasting, you're missing all the stuff he's talking about. He's put in the effort.
Carlyle, everybody listen. Robert Carlyle in this movie is a villain who feels no pain until Bond has to beat him up in a submarine at the end, and then suddenly he feels pain. This movie is BS personified.
I liked it.
You've made that loud and clear, and you've also admitted that you're older than millennials, which means you have even less excuse.
He has a bullet lodged in his skull. That's
you have a bullet lodged.
By the time you get through this movie, I think you want a bullet lodged.
Look, I like the twist that Bond has to rescue M in this movie. That the villains kidnapped M. He has to rescue M. Yeah, okay. Denise Richards, maybe not convincing as a nuclear physicist, but
she would have been convincing as a nuclear physicist if they'd put her in nuclear physicist clothes and given her actual lines and stuff like so many other Bond characters over the years. They put her in Lara Croft outfit and said,
"Yes, that's why I thought you would like this. This is almost
no, because they didn't make her an archaeologist person.
Post-Cold War spy genre thing that you did a whole stream on once, and I think that this movie it's kind of like a best of all that, don't you think?
I think it's amazing to watch you dig your own grave on this. I think you are digging so fast. It's amazing.
Final movie with Q. Final movie with Q.
This right here is like watching someone say that an Andy Sedaris film is a great Bond movie. Like that's where we are. This is like, Dallas Connection or, Hard Ticket to Hawaii level grade spy movie action crap. Like, why don't we just get a few
you know what?
Playboy bunnies in there and just give them the guns and call it a day? Like what?
Something. At least these movies, in my opinion, all the Brosnan movies, at least on some level, are fun, which is a lot more than what I can say for what's coming up next when we get to the next Bond, and we'll get into that. Let's get into the final one.
Before we do, you're going to tell everybody what the last line of that movie was.
Something about I always wanted to have Christmas in Turkey because he's in Turkey.
No, he said, I guess Christmas comes more than once a year.
Yeah, all right. The endings, as
now Troy's on my side.
Keeping the British end up,
Troy is on my side.
And it's the same thing, and that's like the best Bond movie in my opinion. Spy Who Loved Me.
I may not end up watching this movie. Damn it, jeez.
Anyway, we'll get through Brosnan soon enough. All right,
Philistine,
because I like to this. You know something. We have
this
exotic
is why I
locales.
bring RetroBlasting on, so
Sophie
he and
Marceau,
Andrew Boomer can fight, and I just sit and laugh and drink.
You weren't there at the time, man. You could actually go to
you weren't there. You
buddies,
don't know.
not break
you
the
don't
bank,
know, man.
and go see a high budget Bond movie during the holidays, and things were fun back in the 90s before everything got miserable.
Isn't it weird that I also saw these movies in the theater and lived through those and saw a lot of good movies, and I just didn't.
You didn't like. You didn't like
experience with this one.
I like
It's
it.
almost like you thought you were there in that era alone, and you're educating the rest of us. And it's like, but I know that you've played fast and loose with how old you are over the years on this show, and it's like, but I mean, like we've all kind of pinned down. You're not really a millennial, but you act like
I'm
one,
not a
but you're
millennial,
not,
dude. I'm
but,
not a millennial. Stop it.
like, I mean, did you watch Lee Majors fight Bigfoot, or did you like where are
No, I
you
was.
in this whole thing?
Okay. What my earliest memories on TV? I remember
This
MacGyver
is where
on
we
TV.
run into problems because Boomer is younger than
I'm
I
a young Gen X. All right.
Yeah.
Gen X goes up to 80, dude. All right, I'm just saying.
Have you seen those 80 Gen Xers? Because my brother's one, and it's like I don't know.
I don't care. That's where the cutoff is. Anyway.
That's because they're desperate to not be called millennials. That's why.
I am not saying that I'm not going to say that the Brosnan movies are these masterpieces. I'm saying that I enjoyed them for what they are. They ran out of material from the books at this point. They
Let
don't
me
have
ask
any
you
more
a question.
books
This is a very simple question. Do you like and gravitate toward characters that are based on animals?
I don't understand the question. Are you talking about My Little Pony?
No, I'm talking about Ninja Turtles.
Yes, I like Ninja Turtles.
Do you like Thundercats?
I never really got into the Thundercats.
Oh, but you would it'd be like crack rock for you if you
No,
started.
I knew of it at the time. I didn't get into a lot of American cartoons except for like Real Ghostbusters and
Biker Mice from
Ninja
Mars,
Turtles.
Street
Watch
Sharks.
that. Didn't watch those. I will swear by Ninja Turtles because I have a sense of humor and I like the Ninja Turtles. Yes.
I'm not saying Ninja Turtles suck. I'm saying it's a defining moment. Batman '89, is that one of yours too?
I like Batman '89. Yes.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, you're
bought
80,
the toys.
You're like it's
bought the toys.
You're at the end of the Oregon Trail, my friend. You might die of dysentery. I'm just saying. Like,
you know something.
I
didn't play Oregon Trail though. I knew kids that did.
Yet.
Yes.
Batman Resurrection will rekindle your love for Batman 89.
I don't hate Batman 89. I'm saying it's a defining benchmark to try and get us to figure out where Boomer's headspace is.
I saw Batman 89 in the theaters.
Right. You would have.
I got the game on NES too.
Right.
The NES game? Yes.
Why would I deny that? We've just established that. This is where it leads to Christmas Jones being a legitimate Bond girl for you.
Okay.
He is a bad Bond girl, I'll admit this, but I like the rest of the movie. I like the
I'm going to ask you, Michael,
Spanish
please be nice
to
I am being nice to Boomer. I am, but
I don't care if you beat up on Boomer. I'm going to ask you to be nice to Joe's Atmosphere, who says the opening where we see Bond actually caught Halle Berry's tribute to Ursula Andress.
Well, we're getting there now. Now we're on Die Another Day.
At the Three Fencing Club, we're the only good things. So don't beat him up too much. He did drop $5 to be able to say that. So just
let's move on to Die Another Day.
No, but beat the hell out of Boomer. He deserves it.
Well, because Boomer realizes he's dying every day right now on this show. But anyway, let's go ahead.
I like Brosnan era Bond movies, and I know they're not perfect. I don't care. You have did you like Tomb Raider: Cradle of Life?
No, but there's never been a good Tomb Raider movie.
Because I was about to say, there's a scene in that
where she got videos about that too.
There's a scene in Tomb Raider where she punches a shark in the face and then uses it to ride to the surface.
Yeah, why do you think I've said there's never been a good Tomb Raider movie?
But anyway, here we go.
Did you really think for a minute I was going to be like, oh yeah, that's a good movie? Did you
really
think that? Are you out of your mind?
Anyway.
He is a little
something. I'll say this, okay? The Brosnan movies, they're not great movies. I find them to be fun, which is more than I can say for movies that we're going to be talking about later on in the evening. Here we go. We have Halle Berry as, I believe, the super sexy American secret agent Minx. Jinx, my mistake. It's been a while. Anyway, handled by Michael Madsen. And her handler was Michael Madsen. I guess that was the American version of M. They were actually going to try doing a spin-off series with her character. So I guess it would be in the Bond universe, but it'd be about what the American agents were doing. And she would be like the American version of equivalent of like a James Bond. Unfortunately, Catwoman came out and destroyed that prospect because that movie did horribly. And then they realized they got too scared to put her in a leading role at that point.
And if I can take this opportunity to say, when will Hollywood figure out when you F with canon, you lose the fans, and that is the perfect way to destroy your box office? Just saying.
Movie begins with North Korea. In North Korea, here's one of our main, well, the villain at the beginning of the thing, at least. I did like how one of his henchmen, Bond shows up undercover as some diamond merchant, but then the guy, or diamond smuggler, then one of his henchmen looks it up and says, "Oh, this guy is James Bond. He's a British assassin." I always appreciated the fact that, you know, from the other perspective of other countries, Bond is seen as an assassin. I know in Japan they didn't necessarily see Bond as like a heroic type. I think they were just, this is an assassin. That's why Gogol 13 ended up coming out. Never mind. Right. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Anyway, cool little sequence across. I don't know. There's a fight sequence on floating boat things. Anyway, we got Halle Berry in the Ursula Andress bikini, as was mentioned.
Yep.
We have there's Rosamund Pike as Agent Frost, I think, working for M, but she's really working for the villainous Gustav Graves, who was really the Korean guy at the beginning of the movie, who got a race change in Cuba due to genetic manipulation. There's he has a super satellite in the air because why not? And he's going to destroy South Korea with it because he's really a Korean underneath being an English gentleman villain. That's the henchman who got diamonds stuck in his face, and also Bond interrupted his Korean to Englishman transformation in Cuba. There's an ice palace.
Definitely did not see
an ice
this
palace
movie.
And an avalanche, and then Pierce Brosnan, he snowboards against CGI snow, and
oh no.
He also has an invisible car.
Yeah, okay, yes, okay, we're going too far. Anyway, so your thoughts on this movie, Michael?
Did you know, everyone, that a 747 can fly through a literal laser blast Death Star ray from space, just right through it, and just keep going? After 4 of its engines blow up, and it's just like, whatever. Did you know that you can actually have an invisible Aston Martin that can slide around on a big ice flow in the middle of God knows where to fight a Jaguar XR with a rocket launcher on the back? Like, that's.
I actually have this movie. I have not watched it. I have no desire now to watch it.
You know what? I don't hate this movie.
You know what? After our recent conversation a few minutes ago, I ain't surprised.
Weird.
You know what? I remember some guy in a review pointed out, and I actually thought it was good. This was like the first time we saw in a Brosnan movie where Pierce Brosnan and his villain antagonist actually looked like they had some real hatred toward each other in the fight scenes.
I am no longer taking any crap from either of you about the holiday special. Done.
Me? What did I do?
Come on,
you act like I come on your show and I'm like, the greatest movie of all time is Sheena.
Okay. Are the Bond women better in this movie?
Hey, are you disparaging that film?
Are the Bond girls better this time around?
Well, okay, I like Tanya Robert.
You have Halle Berry and Rosamund Pike.
I'm just being real.
Okay, fair.
Madonna shows up at some point.
Yeah, Madonna shows up to be.
Wait, who is this?
That's Rosamund Pike, English actress.
She's most recently been in Saltburn.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, you've probably seen her in movies before. Yes.
She's been in movies. She's an actress.
Yes.
She's been in movies.
Remember,
he was in that movie you saw, Troy.
That Edgar Wright movie. What was it? At the World's End or whatever, about the aliens and the pubs, the pub crawl. She was.
Oh, I definitely saw that, but I don't remember.
She's in that. She's like the love interest for the guy that played the Hobbit.
Wasn't she in a Thriller where she played like a double role or something like that? Never mind. I'll figure it out when I sober up.
Oh wait, no, you're thinking Gone Girl. She's in Gone Girl.
Gone Girl, yeah. Was she in Gone Girl? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
She's the terrifying movie. Anyway, point is though, look, I'm not saying
I'll just watch Gone Girl again. I don't need to watch this James Bond film.
I am not. See that? Yeah, you want to be terrified instead of just rolling with. Yes, listen to me. At
Instead of
least
just sitting here going, wait, what?
I find the Pierce Brosnan era to be fun. At least I find these movies fun. And now we have to get into another
This is
Bond
why they
era.
give you popcorn in the movie theater, so you have something to do when you're like.
Here we go,
distracted.
Casino Royale.
Okay, I like this movie. It started out great.
Okay, great.
This reboot, and let's be clear, this is a reboot.
Started
out well.
It's a reboot. It's a reboot with the new M from GoldenEye.
Which
I
makes
know.
no sense.
That's the other thing. It's like
makes
it's
no
kind
sense.
of a sequel, but it's
not a sequel.
I don't get it.
This is again why people think, oh, it's just a code name. No, it's not a code name.
No,
I forgot. That's what's his name?
Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen's in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Lashif in this. I have read the book. I kept meaning to rewatch this movie before we did the stream because I
let's face it, this is better than the original Casino Royale.
Anything would be.
I knew I would get Boomer on that one.
At any rate, I mean,
I like the original.
Fine.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. It was Austin Powers before Austin Powers.
I don't know. I mean, the book is good as an introduction to Bond as a character, but it's a lot of him at the table. We have Ava Green.
Yes, we do.
Yes, beautiful woman.
Yes.
Nothing bad to say about Ava Green. I didn't ever realize she was French until later on, and then I realized, she says as a French actress, she can do an English accent is a lot easier to do than an American accent coming from French, which I always thought was interesting. Vesper Lind. And there's Daniel Craig as Bond. Coming into this new era, how did we feel about Daniel Craig? In fact, Michael, you've been rather quiet. How do you feel about this movie?
I think just as Bond, as a franchise, tried to take a few mild pointers from Indiana Jones at the height of its success, this series was rebooted heavily on the success of the Bourne franchise, and they wanted Bond to be more of a very, very troubled, broken, but unstoppable, blunt instrument of MI6 global terror.
The fact is, though, if that's the story you want to tell, this is probably the way to tell it. This is less actual book Casino Royale and more On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is what I said when I saw it. I'm like, I saw so much of the things that I liked about On Her Majesty's Secret Service in this film that I was positive at the end of this movie, hoping that this would.
I would argue though there's more Dalton Bond in this retelling than anything else. The guy that doesn't like his job, but it's what he's good at. The guy that bucks authority because they always tell him to do the thing that goes against his instincts. The guy that he's not a smiler. He doesn't wink at the camera. He doesn't do one-liners. It's more that kind of character.
You almost have to respect the concept of verisimilitude in that regard, that he doesn't do the wink and the nod.
I do. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
There's an extended torture sequence, to be fair, that's in the book. So they did get that in the book.
True.
I feel there's not a lot of humor in this Bond era. And to be fair, Casino Royale in the book, there's not a ton of humor, but there's humor in how he observes the world around him, like when he's commenting on the different people playing the, I forgot what it was in the book. Was it Baccarat? I think they made it Texas Hold'em poker in this version. But I don't know. And of course, I keep thinking this is going to lead into something else, because in the book, Lashif's work is trying to get money back because he lost money, Smirsh's money, so he has to earn it back by gambling. So that's the whole plot line. He has to beat Lashif at the thing, so Lashif might have to turn himself over, I think, to the British authorities. Otherwise, the Smirsh is going to kill him for losing all the money. I believe that was the plot of the book. And I think there's something similar. We don't know who he's working for in this. It's obviously not Smersh because it was a Pacelli era at this point.
I do have to appreciate what Mark did, because Mark Daly is kind of commenting to what you're getting at. If you ignore the years this is set, the first 3 Craig movies play as an origin story for everything before. But that way lies madness, Mark. Don't do it. The Craig is absolutely a reboot. Do not try to put them together. It's not worth it.
Feel that, and this was my patience with Daniel Craig, because I thought, at least in the beginning, I think he's a good actor. This is a different Bond, but I'm going to be on board with this. Yeah. I feel that Bond is trying to get over a hump, or he's trying to. We're not there yet to where we are supposed to see him later on. These are origin stories, or at least early on in his career. You even see his first 2 kills at the beginning of the movie in that black and white sequence. We're not getting the tunnel vision thing with the gun barrel in the beginning. We don't see those yet. I figure these are origin point. This is him getting to where he's supposed to be later on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, going back to what Mark had said, that absolutely is true. That's why I say this is absolutely a reboot. And if you're going to reboot, you go back and do your origin story, and that's what this is intended to be. So that was fine. I could get behind this, and I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And I liked this first movie.
We have Vesper Lynd. I feel Vesper Lynd throughout this whole series, she's carried on too much. In the original book, when he finds out about her whole thing about the fiance and the organization keeping her fiance or her husband, whatever, I don't know, he actually is rather cold about it. I think he sees her as a traitor. Though he does, oddly enough, mention her in the book Goldfinger again, because he thinks he died and the woman with him died. He says, I guess I'll have to introduce her to, I guess I'm in the afterlife, I'll have to introduce her to Vesper, because they were both, it was a joke. Never mind.
Michael, have you read all of these stories? I don't think we asked you that.
I have not read them, no.
Well, to be fair, I've only gotten around to reading them in the past couple of years, so it's
right. And I'm just starting down that.
And to be fair, we kind of have to judge the movies on their own merits, just like you judge the books on their own merit too.
No, I'm not disputing that. I was just curious.
We're basically judging now. We're in a new Bond era. This is a full-on reboot. This is not continuing the Brosnan era. This is not continuing that Bond, which some people might be happy about. But we have the sequel, Quantum of Solace. Oh boy. This was written under duress of a writer's strike. They had to crank this one out. I saw this in the theater. I saw Casino. In fact, ever since Tomorrow Never Dies, I kept trying to see every Bond movie in the theater after that. We have Gemma Arterton, I think her name is. I like seeing her in this. I kind of wish she had more of a prominent role in this. I feel like a whole lot of nothing happens in this. I do like the pre-title sequence, how Bond is going through this chase and the bad guys are after them, and then he finally, and you realize it's taking place right after Casino Royale, because he has Mr. White in the trunk that he shot at the end of the Casino Royale. And then he and M are interrogating Mr. Wright, and he's saying, I keep thinking that MI6, we all think they're listening in, they know what we're doing and stuff, and you don't even know we exist. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this organization? Who does he work for? And then I guess it's revealed in this movie, Quantum of Solace, that he works for the Quantum Organization, right? Which, if you read the original short story, Quantum of Solace, it has nothing to do with anything like that. It's about Bond hearing a tale about a guy whose wife cheated on him, and then he gets revenge on the wife who cheated on him by being kind of cruel to her. And that's all that story is. It's nothing to do with spy stuff. Go ahead.
So the first time I saw this film, I missed it in the theater, saw it on Blu-ray. The first time I saw it, I wasn't wild about it. Then a few years later, I watched it again, and I was like, okay, wait a second. This is actually playing a lot better than the first time I saw it. Now, I'm not going to say it's anywhere near a perfect movie, but I think it does get sort of a bad rap because it has a stupid title.
Had you watched it right after rewatching Casino Royale? Because I've heard some people argue if you treat it as Casino Royale Part 2, it plays better.
Yeah, and that is possible. My whole thing is just simply that I've decided, Troy is familiar with my Rogue One love-hate relationship subtitle. Well, the Bond film that I've decided to talk about and I'm calling it a love-hate relationship is Quantum of Solace. That's the one I'm going to be doing a video on.
Okay.
This one.
Oh, I don't think I'd heard that before. That's pretty
Yep. So it's not coming for a few months, but it's the Bond movie.
You have a couple of other things in the hopper, so
yeah, I'm a little
that's the appropriate use of "to be fair."
Yes.
To be fair to you, you have other things in the hopper, so
mm-hmm.
At the time, I remember thinking, look, I get why this maybe wasn't perfect, because I think it was a rush job. I think they were worried that the writer's strike or whatever would halt this production too long, and they had to get it out there. Okay, and they were probably trying to strike with the iron hot. Remember, the Brosnan movies kept coming out like every 2 years, and then I guess the writer's strike came and went. But then there was this horrible dust up with MGM trying to be sold, and it messed up a lot of movies. The Hobbit movies that Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct,
right,
that got dislodged because of this whole thing, because they couldn't sell MGM to anybody. Nobody wanted to buy it, and I guess MGM was still tied to Bond, even though, funny enough, I thought Sony was releasing a lot of them at that point, so I wasn't sure what that was about. It took years before we got another Bond movie, and Daniel Craig was arguing, my abs aren't going to last forever, like he was... It was this thing, and it took forever for us to finally get to Sky. There's the villain of Quantum of Solace. They didn't want to go with a scarred villain this time around, which, to be fair, in the Bond books, the villains don't always have scars either, so I guess that was fine.
Do you know why villains have scars?
I
can tell you why characters in Bond books have scars, but why do villains have scars?
Troy, you should really say that. You need to say it as, do you know why Bond villains have scars?
Do you know why? You know where these scars come from?
Yeah.
Boomer, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Okay, from reading the books, is the reason Bond villains have scars is because the same reason Bond has a scar. Bond has scars on his body. He has a knife cut on the side of his face, which sometimes is prominent, sometimes it goes away with tanning. It's because if you're involved in in danger work, whichever side you're on, you're going to get scarred.
That
fair. That's what I got from that.
In more general terms,
I don't know
why villains always have scars on their face. Look into I forget. There's a German term for it, but prior to the rise of National Socialism in Germany, the soldiers used to have this form of dueling that involved getting scars on your face.
That explains Blofeld's. That was a dueling scar. Yes.
Yes.
I figured they had them so you could tell that they were the bad guys.
Well, yes, that's true, but I mean, historically speaking,
that's a sign of aristocracy or higher up, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yep, and it was endemic to Germans in the officer corps. They would have these duels that resulted in these facial scars, and they were like badges of honor. And of course, that translates to who is the universal bad guys, the National Socialists. And, that's, of course, that's where Bond comes from, of course, is the World War II and all of that. So your bad guys have to have scars on their face. But now we've lost that history. We don't understand that history. So we don't want to be hurtful to people who have scars on their face. So we have to be sensitive, and those who don't learn history are destined to repeat it. Anyway.
So we have Skyfall. We'll see if Michael yells at me again. This is my favorite of the Craig era Bond movies. Some people prefer Casino Royale. I know that. I do. I remember this finally came out. We have a great intro sequence. I make a joke about the Craig era movies, how you feel like you're going to a funeral for the character sometimes when you go to see these movies. In the beginning of the movie, a female agent in the field, Bond's fighting the villain who's going to expose all the other... He has this thing that's going to expose all the agents or whatever on microfilm or whatever it is, or on a thumb drive. I don't know what he has. And Bond's fighting him on top of a train, and, M tells the agent to go shoot. And he says, but if I shoot the bad guy, I'll shoot Bond. I might shoot Bond. He says, take the bloody shot. So then she shoots, and instead of hitting the bad guy, she hits Bond, and Bond goes flying off the train, and the bad guy takes the, I guess, the decoder or whatever, and goes off with it. And then the whole sequence is the Skyfall song by Adele, and all you see are gravestones and things because you figure Bond's dead, or, well, at least, obviously he's not dead, but yeah. All right. We have someone wants revenge on M in this movie. There's the Bond girl for this movie. She doesn't last throughout the film, though. And we have Javier Bardem.
That's right.
What was his name again?
I have not seen this film. I have heard the backstory for it, though.
In some ways, the Craig era is recycling some things from the Brosnan era. This is another MI6 agent gone rogue, but I think in some ways it's done better here.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people argue that the Bond movies that some of the newer Bond movies, like the first couple, were trying to ape on the Bourne Identity. Some people have said that this is taking off of the Dark Knight because, I don't know. I've heard some people say that this villain he's like a Joker-esque villain. I don't know if I necessarily buy that, but Raul Silva.
Are they saying about the Dark Knight, or are they saying it about Batman '89?
No, Dark Knight, because Dark Knight came out a couple years before this. And yeah,
okay.
But yeah, this was Skyfall. This was kind of the return of Daniel Craig. I feel by the end of this movie, things have kind of finally settled. We have a new Q, we have a new Moneypenny, we have a new M, now played by Ray Fiennes. And I feel like, now we've settled, and now we're going to go into a normal Bond era. What were your thoughts on Skyfall, Michael?
I felt that Skyfall was a rather self-indulgent entry into this cycle of Bond that really was just extending out the whole, will he or won't he be with MI6 and help M?
Right.
Or will he continue to be a thorn in her side? They just keep kicking that can down the road from Casino Royale forward, and it was like, yes. And then it just really turned into a, protect the villager kind of movie where it was, protect the, not the hostage, protect the target kind of film. Yeah.
I have.
Gosh,
no, I've heard criticism by the end sequence saying it's very un-Bond-like, the whole thing with them hiding out in the house and whatnot. Go ahead, sorry.
I had only seen the first Daniel Craig film, but from what I'm hearing you guys say, it almost sounds like they needed to crap or get off the pot kind of a plot.
But I think I excuse because I felt at the end of this movie he's finally gotten off the pot. I was wrong.
Okay.
But we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, fair enough.
But I like Javier Bardem in this. I think he's a good villain. I mean, I like him as an actor in general. But
I was going to say I like Javier Bardem.
Did you feel he was playing a Joker-esque character in this, Michael? Is that what they were kind of pulling from?
I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
But I mean, there's so many eccentric Bond villains over the years to pull from as well. I mean, it's like Bond villains almost have an obligation to be like, these almost like Adam West Batman villains at this point. So it's
over the top. Yeah.
I like his speech about the rats on the island his grandmother owned and about how they got rid of I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Anyway.
From what I heard about this movie, and maybe this is a major huge spoiler, but isn't his whole thing he's got friggin' mommy issues?
Oh, well,
yeah.
It goes from what Ian Fleming said about M, like even back in World War II, he says, "Oh, M, I always call M mother or something, even if it was a guy, But
right.
Anyway,
well, that's what M stood for, I thought.
Anyway, oh boy,
Spectre.
No. Let's go. This basically explains this entire movie to me.
Clockwork Orange. I love that movie.
Forget it. No, this movie for me, this was torture. I absolutely hated Spectre. I was originally worried when I heard that they had titled the movie, but they didn't have a screenplay yet. Okay, so I guess it's going to involve Spectre, maybe Blofeld. Now we're finally bringing Blofeld into the mix. In defense, I think they picked the best actor they could have gotten for Blofeld currently, which was Christoph Waltz. I like him as Blofeld.
The original Roadhouse was a good movie. Don't
Let's not
even.
get us started on Roadhouse, please.
Roadhouse is an awesome film. I love that film. Yeah.
I hate Spectre. I just did, and
I like this actor though.
I think at the time I said, okay, well, this is a bad Bond film. We've had bad Bond films before. We had View to a Kill. We've had he's a good actor. I liked him in Alita. I liked him in Inglourious Bastards. I don't like him in this. Actually, I know I like him in this, but I don't like the movie.
Yes, he was in Inglourious. Oh God, he was good in that. Yes.
Just this is no.
This is no.
The Bond
that
girl
is where my
time
clip
around,
comes from, though. I
was
mean,
the villain in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Did not see this movie. Did see this scene.
Yeah, you know the scene. You played.
I like this Bond girl, but then again, I do have a type.
Okay. At this point, after I saw this movie, I said, "Why is it every time I see these Craig movies, I feel like I'm going to a funeral for the character, or that the character has to be tortured and pay for his sin?"
Spoilers, man! You haven't even gotten to that yet.
I don't. I did not like this, and then I thought, well, at least it ends. He gets in the Aston Martin, he has the girl, and I'm assuming this is going to be Daniel Craig's final outing as Bond. I didn't like the movie, but I thought, okay, Bond will live on. We'll get a new actor. We'll move on, start a new era. Fine. What did you feel about Spectre, Michael?
I'm sorry, what?
How did you feel about the movie Spectre? Did you see it?
No, I heard what you said. I just really didn't want to even talk about this.
I'm going to say this. Does this image here basically is this how you felt in the audience while watching this?
This is how he watched the movie. Yes.
Is this the one with the terrible Ed Sheeran?
The song, worst Bond song. You're thinking of the song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst Bond song ever.
Worst Bond song of all time.
Horrible.
All time. And on top of that,
shame. I like Ed Sheeran usually.
What?
Okay, well,
okay. I've only ever heard one Ed Sheeran song, and I can't tell you what the name of it is.
I can't speak to his other songs. I know this one is terrible. I hated it. I hated this song. And it's not that you can't have great male singers, and I mean, the title song for Casino Royale is fine. I like that one. I just no. This is no.
The guy unironically has a lion tattooed on his chest. And
honestly, I cannot remember. I don't know any songs from any of the Daniel Craig films. Any of them. None of them do I know.
Okay. This is the triumphant return of Blofeld. And, of course, everything's tied to Spectre now. Now we have the introduction of Spectre. After all this time, we have Batista as a henchman, as I recall. I just... No. I can't think of anything positive to say about this movie. I've tried... No,
don't even get me started. Deleted. The Oscars mean nothing. The Oscars now, AI generated scripts are going to be up for Oscars going forward.
Wait. Was Sam Smith the singer or the writer? Who was Sam Smith?
I have no idea.
It was right. The song is by Sam Smith. Oh, so wait a second. I thought Ed Sheeran did one of those themes. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, okay, let's say it's Sam Smith. Sam Smith has the worst Bond theme of all time. And Ed Sheeran is still a weirdo with a lion tattoo on his chest. So there's that.
Yeah, I don't like scenes of Bond getting tortured.
Possibly.
I excuse it in Casino Royale because it's from the book, so they had to keep it in there. But I don't like scenes of Bond getting tortured. I like him kicking ass. I don't like this nonsense. I don't know. That's
a great point, actually.
No, And of course, then we find out the guy from the last. Oh, it's all Spectre. Mr. White worked for Spectre. Lashif worked for Spectre. What's his name? Bardem's character for the last. He worked for Spectre, and it's all. Just no, like they're trying to tie them all together now, and I'm just. Okay.
By the way, I want to just say real quick hi to Darth Plato. Yes, you don't care for the Quantum of Solace song either. Fair enough.
All right. No Time to Die.
Apparently there was a time to die, and they picked it, and they made this movie.
And this was the movie, yeah.
I
It's probably the worst
know.
title for a James Bond movie.
I know there's been arguments online which is worse, this or Spectre. I think this is worse because it's longer for starters, so that doesn't help it. It had a very indulgent opening sequence that doesn't even start with Bond doing anything.
This thing was already on the back foot with me when they cast that guy as the villain.
Well, I mean,
you don't like Freddie Mercury?
I do not like Remy Malek.
We are the champions.
I do not like him as an actor. I can't stand to watch him on screen.
We have Christoph Waltz back as Blofeld. Why not use Blofeld as your villain for this movie, as he is Bond's arch nemesis? Actually, you could have gone back and redone any of the Bond novels. You could have redone Goldfinger. Of course, I hesitate to see what they would have done with that. But I thought the whole point of rebooting the Craig era was that you could actually go back and now redo some of the older novels, maybe make the books true to the movies.
The problem is, we have critics these days that pick apart modern films because they're woke. It's not about being woke. It's because people don't know how to write good stories, whether or not there's political messaging in it.
The pre-title sequence, I think, goes on for like 45 minutes. I could be wrong on that. Am I wrong on that, Michael? I don't remember. It seemed to go on forever. First, it starts out with his wife, because I guess he marries what's her name in this.
When the prologue is a quarter of your movie, you've got a problem.
No, I don't. Well, no, it's a long movie. It goes on forever. It has Spectre agents convincing Bond his wife is actually a traitor and working for them, and then you have I think Largo is in it from Thunderball because they could bring him back instead of an eye patch. He has a bionic eye, which I don't believe exists in the real world yet.
Another movie I still have not watched and probably will not.
It's funny because I remember reading in the book, I'm like, oh, Largo, he has an eye patch. Oh, no, in the book he doesn't have an eye patch. He doesn't have any weird scars. Okay. Anyway, Anna de Armas is in this.
Hello.
I love when she shows up and she's
in it for like 2 minutes.
She goes to Daniel Craig.
So what you're saying is I should probably just go ahead and watch Blade Runner, the sequel there. Yeah, maybe.
Fine.
Okay.
Listen to me. She
still haven't seen the Norma Jean film that she did. I got to check that out.
I didn't realize she was in that. I know that she sees Daniel Craig's Bond. She's like, take your clothes off. And he's like, oh, shouldn't I buy you dinner first? And he's like, oh, no, I don't mean like that. I mean, getting this special secret agent suit. Because, of course, heaven forbid Bond actually... sleep with the young This is basically another post Me Too movement Bond.
Yes, of course it is.
Because of course it would be, he's not going to, and that's fine.
Let's do James Bond, but not make him James Bond.
I feel like he's getting let down by the girls in this film. The Latasha Lynch is another one where it's like, okay, miserable experience. Felix Leiter finally shows up again in this. He was introduced in Casino Royale, played by Jeffrey Wright. He gets killed in this because we have to kill off everybody. Latasha Lynch comes in and says, I'm the new 007. Remember they were making a big deal out of that in the press. What the heck is this?
They made this movie to kill off James Bond in every way.
Well, they also killed off Felix in this.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Kind of unceremonious. This was a miserable theater going experience. They kill off Blofeld, and they kill off Blofeld in a very stupid way by using nanites that were on Bond's hand or something when he went to visit him in prison in the Hannibal Lecter type cell. So we don't get to have like a nice fight with Blofeld in this Bond versus
It's just
Blofeld.
an
No,
assassination.
I'm just done. And Bond has a daughter, and who talks about like, isn't it sad mosquitoes get killed or something in French? And she's saying this in French. I don't remember. This is just I don't like this picture. I went on a tirade about it on my own stream once. I'm just I did not see this in the theater because I knew it was going to be a disaster. I finally checked it out from my local library because I didn't even want to pay for it.
I have talked about
it.
how sequels can make or break the film that came before it.
Well, the film came before it was also bad.
Well, but what I'm getting at is I said this about The Force Awakens and what was the one that came after that?
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. Force Awakens was on its own meh. So you wait to see what the next movie is. The next movie sucked so badly, it's like, okay, forget it. We're all done here. Well, this movie, from everything I've heard about it, tells me that the Daniel Craig whole era is unnecessary. Forget about it.
Basically, yeah.
I got it in my collection because I'm a completist, but, forget about it.
I don't know. I don't relish talking about this. Actually, it's not like it's Schadenfreude as you've said. I don't. No. I think this was a terrible movie. I think that the director, who I heard was rewriting the screenplay on the fly during shooting.
Never a good sign.
And it ends with Bond basically getting killed off as he talks to his daughter on the phone.
And yet, Bond will return.
The only one who had a right to kill off James Bond was Ian Fleming, as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
But because he's the one that created him, Bond is a sole creation of one guy, except for Thunderball.
This whole situation with James Bond makes me think of this YouTuber that I really, really like, RetroBlasting, who's talked about Indiana Jones and how Indiana Jones should have been an anthology that just continues. You just do the next story. And they're self-contained, and you don't need a big sweeping arc and character development. Next adventure. That's what James Bond should have been, and they can't do that. Nobody knows how to write that anymore. Flash Gordon should be the same thing. Just Flash Gordon going to the next story, Yes, you have your establishing first story, and that's fine. And then every story after that is next adventure. Especially in this era of streaming, streaming TV-esque things. Just tell your anthology and just keep the story going. No, they can't handle that. Go ahead, Boomer.
I also am of the opinion, and people may argue with me on this, but I think Bond actors can age out of the role, and usually when they're too old for the role, the movie is usually terrible. I think Connery, I think Diamonds Are Forever, I think Roger Moore, I think View to a Kill, and certainly by the time we get to these last two Craig era movies, I think he's too old to be playing the part. And
I will say, though, at least before Daniel Craig, at least they did have the ability to say, well, time to put in a new Bond for whatever reason, whether it's age, paycheck, whatever reason, and they were at least able to do it.
I got kind of angry with Craig, too, behind the scenes, like talking to the press, saying, Bond's basically a misogynist. Bond is not a misogynist. Bond does not hate women. Is he sexist at times, especially in the books? Yes, but he doesn't hate women. That's
Again, this goes back to why I like On Her Majesty's Secret Service so much. He fell in love. He got married. She died. He was incapable of another relationship after that. It was just work for him.
underneath underneath all the quote unquote womanizing, there is a man that is really looking for the love of his life. That's really what's going on here. That's what I've seen in that character, and I'm just, I don't know. I feel
and you find it once in your life, and when that's gone, you're done.
Anyway, this was a travesty. The only thing I can say about it is, well, it's not connected to the other Bond movies, but it just shouldn't exist. Michael, do you have any thoughts on this? I'm talking over you. I'm sorry. You might have some more insight on this.
My pull quote for this on the poster would be, "This movie gave me hemorrhoids."
Yeah. I knew this was going to be
That's
bad.
the quote, folks. You get clip that one. That sums up the stream, guys.
But
this Bond gave me hemorrhoids.
I mean, I know for a lot of people, like, there used to be a poster for when Star Wars got re-released in theaters, and the poster said 3 reasons they built movie theaters. I think was on the poster, and I think the Bond at the time, I was like, well, here's like 16 reasons they built movie theaters. I mean, Bond was really my favorite movie franchise, and I think the Craig era, especially by the time we get to Spectre, it's actually becoming torturous, and I'm wanting it to kind of get over the hump and now just get to being Bond movies again. And it just got worse, and then we have this horrible ending with Rami Malek as a horrible villain that's uninteresting. See, heroes have to be cool and villains have to be interesting. This is what that's the formula.
Everything's going to get so much better now that Amazon is taking over and Jeff Bezos has control of James Bond. It's going to be good now.
Well, I guess we can go to the final slide. Yes, because Amazon Studios has. I
didn't realize I was doing the transition there.
I don't have much left. We're almost done. And then I have the favorite, of course, is Aaron Taylor Johnson, but I had him up a year ago as well. Who knows if he will be the pick, but I know he was a favorite. I know Tom Hiddleston was a favorite for a while. I think Hiddleston might have been interesting, but he was dating Taylor Swift, so they considered him too high profile, which I don't quite get that. But anyway. No, I don't see the guy as kick-ass as Bond, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Who am I kidding? They got the lady in charge of who was in charge of Sony's Spider-Man. She's one of the producers now.
Oh dear God, no!
I just know. Amy Hennig or whatever her name is.
Pascal.
Her name? Pascal. That's right. Yes. Oh,
Amy Pascal. Oh God, no! Oh God, no!
Amy Pascal.
You need that meme of Steve Carell going, no,
God, no, please, no.
And these other rumors floating about, I can't possibly see them doing this, but people were thinking they were going to do a bunch of spin-off streaming Amazon series, like the early years. I don't know. I don't know if any of that holds water. I'd like to think they'd be smart enough just to keep this as a movie series.
Oh, let's get the Moneypenny spin-off where we see a day in the life of a secretary. Yeah, that would be great.
Well, they did have her as an agent.
No, of course not. That's not what you're going to get. You're going to find out that she was an MI6 agent for years before she decided, I'm done with this. I'm just going to be a secretary from now on.
I'm getting depressed now. Why did you do this to me? Now
you're the one that took it past this point.
I'm thinking where we are. Well, I wanted to take it past Craig because I had to get past No Time to Die because that was a no.
I have. This is what I've said about all of our other franchises. We have from Dr. No up through. And I will revisit, up through the Pierce Brosnan era. There's a lot of movies in there I haven't seen. I will rewatch them. I am currently reading the books, just like Boomer is. I'm just not as far along as he is.
It's fine. Look,
Bond is
it's fine.
Bond is still great stories. You don't have to slovenly follow these studios. Keep giving them your money. You don't have to do it. Just saying.
If they got a visionary director and who liked Bond and knew what to do and gave him free reign, maybe. but I'm not hopeful that's going
Am
to
I
happen.
the only one that thinks that it would be kind of nice if they went back and they rebooted James Bond, like going back to World War II, or just the post World War II
Eh,
era, the Cold War era?
here's the thing. Even in the Bond books, World War II's mentioned. That's how he got his 2 kills.
Right.
But we never see those stories. We're in the 50s
True.
already when the books start out.
True.
I think when he was a younger man, he was doing the stuff in World War II. But what he did was he got his 2 double O's. One was by killing a Vichy French, I guess for the French that were loyal to a certain German country, Germany. He also he went after someone who was working for Japan, Imperial Japan, during the war, and those were the 2 kills. But I'm telling you, no, in the 50s though, it is really Soviet Union are the big baddies that are basically that are working with some of the worst criminals in the United States and Europe, to do damage to those countries, like Mr. Big or Dr. No or Goldfinger, and that's sort of what the premise is. But I don't know, man. I feel they got Blofeld and Spectre back and they completely flubbed it, and now the broccoli is out.
This is what happens, Boomer, when you spend a good portion of your life accepting the extreme Chuckle House entries of Bond. You end up floating so high in this delusion that when you're knocked down by the ineptitude of darkness, you fell farther than the rest of us. I mean, I was a Dalton guy that rejected the Brosnan stuff
Ah.
except GoldenEye. And then when I saw Daniel Craig, I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. And the moment, Quantum and Skyfall really hit, I was like, oh, this is kind of going nowhere. Oh, well, typical Hollywood. You, though, I hear it in your voice. Your soul is crushed.
Yes.
And it's crushed because you accepted the Chuckle House, and you never go full Chuckle House. Never.
Well, okay,
never.
there are many Star Wars fans, with all due respect, that kind of went full Chuckle House on things. That's my point. For me, it's
Am
Bond.
I one of them? I think not.
I didn't say you're one of them.
No,
but I
he's
know
thinking more about a certain a smuggler's cantina.
Well, defending.
That's what he's talking about.
People are going to yell at me too in the chat or something. I'm just saying I was not the biggest fan of the prequels when they were out, but I know people love them, and I'm not going to attack. I like Brosnan era.
Judi Dench has some great
movies.
eyes. Just got to say.
No, Judi Dench. I like her in these movies, and but
look at those eyes. I mean, my gosh. Come on.
Anyway, I forgot John Cleese shows up in Die Another Day.
Does.
He's the replacement for Q. Yes, he's good.
That was actually a clever casting. I liked that.
Well, they actually set it up in the prior movie.
True.
Because they didn't know if they figured the actor he's not going to last forever. But if we show that Q has an assistant, then we can just have him take over. And it was John Cleese.
Yeah.
And then we got the new Q in the new movies, which I wasn't impressed with at all. And I didn't hate him, but he just not the cartoon. Anyway,
suddenly in my head I heard Bionic 6.
There we go. We'll leave it off with Dalton. I'll put a nice picture of Dalton.
Benicio del Toro. There you go.
All right. But I have a license to kill, a lot of fun. Yeah. Oh, there we go. It's a good picture. All right. So yeah. But the point is, I don't know, man. I'm just spent because this was my favorite movie series, and I was a late adopter into it. I'll be honest. I didn't really start until Brosnan, and because of Brosnan, I went back and I watched all of them all the way through again. I remember getting, my sister got me a VHS collection of all the Connery movies in widescreen on VHS. And I watched those. Then when those fancy DVD sets came out, the MGM ones with the cool menus, got those. I even got some of the ones that came out before that, like the weird Spy Who Loved Me that had like a shark floating in the background. A bad like little computer animated shark that you could see through the window screen. But and here we are. And we have people in charge of Bond that know nothing of the character, probably don't know who Ian Fleming is, and his contributions to the war effort in World War II, which I feel, who knows, we not for his efforts and people like him, we'd probably be under a different flag right now. And also, people don't realize this too. Ian Fleming actually was a book collector, but he collected early scientific textbooks like Early Discovery, which people thought were worthless, but he realized these had great historical value of like all the great inventions of like the 19th century, the scientific discoveries, and he was seeking out print materials of those, and now these are. Yeah. And he actually preserved a lot of these important historical books about scientific discoveries.
What was the name of the film? Was it like Spy Hunter: The Secret Life of Ian Fleming? Have you guys seen that?
I haven't seen that, but I saw Operation Mincemeat on Netflix. It was okay, but it had Ian Fleming as one of the characters in it. It was about a World War II operation.
It has been so long, I can't remember the details, but I remember liking that Spy Hunter film.
Yeah.
And thinking, wow, what an interesting character this Ian Fleming was. I wonder how legit this movie is. And I've done some reading about Ian Fleming, only to find out, yeah, he has a pretty damn interesting life.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
No, he's talking about an older movie.
Oh, okay.
But I heard Ian Fleming is in that as a character too.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I just I don't know. I feel it's a real disservice, and I think the problem, especially nowadays, we feel that our lead characters have to be perfect moral pillars, and I'm thinking, no, Bond is a very flawed man. One of the readers of the books that I was listening to, he was like, he said that he was thinking about that Bond has a license to kill. That's a terrifying something for somebody to have, But then you read these books and you realize all the men he's going up against, all the villains, they're far worse than all the flaws.
They're really, really bad people. That's true.
Goldfinger, I think he was taken aback by how evil Goldfinger was in the book. Like he'd gone up against Dr. No prior, and Dr. No was a sadistic SOB, but even Goldfinger's somehow worse.
Darth Plato makes a great point. No characters now seem to have flaws. Yeah. Wait a minute. Nope. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying, Darth Plato.
Characters now seem to have flaws. That's the way I'm reading it.
No, but see, I don't think that's true. I think they like to create characters that don't, or at least hero characters that don't have flaws, which are boring.
I think they like to create hero characters that are unattractive, or they have like. I'll be blunt. I think we see at the end of that last Bond film where he's crying or something. It's like, they have to showing all this weird emotional vulnerability and stuff, and it's and I don't know. I don't know.
Look, I don't think they just don't have the talent for writing heroes anymore. They don't understand the narrative. They don't understand inspiring audiences. This is why audiences don't want to come back for the next movie is what it really comes down to. One other question, and we may have covered this on the last one, I can't remember. Favorite Bond song?
Oh, I have mine.
What is yours?
Man with the Golden Gun by Lulu. I like that one.
Really? Okay. Michael?
Living Daylights, Aha.
Good. That's a good one.
Because the John Barry score that's in the movie also dovetails into a lot of those themes, and it all works together.
Yeah, same with Man with the Golden Gun. I believe that also dovetails.
Netter, do you have a favorite?
Not really.
Okay. Nobody Does It Better, The Spy Who Loved Me, Carly Simon.
Yeah.
That's... in fact, if I was going to go top three, that would be first. Second would be For Your Eyes Only, Sheena Easton, and All-Time High, Rita Coolidge.
I like Goldfinger.
Yeah.
And Sheena Easton's one. Most of the rest of them I can't remember the song.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. If you can't remember a song, then it's not going to be your favorite.
U2 Kill was popular at one point, and I
very
was kind of
80s.
into it, but then it got overplayed. So.
It was overplayed on the radio. That's very true. At least here in the States, it was. In fact, it was overplayed so much that all of Duran Duran's songs started to sound the same to me.
Yeah.
Well, I met John Rhys Davies last year, and
Really?
when I walked up to him, I decided I wasn't going to ask him about Indiana Jones because everybody does that. I wasn't.
So you asked him about sliders.
No, I wasn't gonna ask him about Gimli, and that's why that's why I made this. And I walked up to him because he played Pushkin in Living Daylights.
Right.
And so I walked up to him and I put this down in front of him and I said, Mr. Davies, I said, an MI6 agent with his dying breath pressed this into my palm. And he said to me, figures that it took 2 Welshmen to make the perfect Bond film.
And that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
He got a good laugh out of it. His handler was from the convention, and that guy was a douchebag. He started so I was about to have a conversation. This guy was the equivalent at a Comic-Con of like a cock blocker at a club. Like this guy would just he kept stepping on the interaction I was having. I was about to throw a brick at him, but we got on the subject of the themes. First thing, he was very humble, and he said, we all knew going into that movie, all of us, we had a wonderful cast. All of us got along. He said, but we all knew we were never going to beat Sean. He said, we just all knew there was no way to top Sean. Which obviously he comes from that earlier generation that would have grown up and would have been seeing the Sean, so not grown up necessarily. He was probably still a young adult when those came out, but he was in their heyday, right? So then at that moment, I said, I think you carried off an amazing feat, refurbishing or whatever you want, revitalizing the character for 1987 and taking it back to the books. And then this guy from back there, he put his foot in his mouth and he goes, yeah, but one of the worst themes ever, talking about Aha's Living Daylights. The guy, the dude who was in the movie is sitting there standing,
Yeah.
And he goes, I looked over and I went, what? And John Rhys Davies looked over at the guy and went, what are you talking about? And he's like, and he goes, no, it was a great song. He goes, you know what? And then Rhys Davies turned to me and he goes, it was another great song. And I said, what's that? He goes, oh, Duran Duran, because he's Welsh.
You like Duran?
British at the time. And I'm like, oh, it was a great song. And this guy goes, oh, that one was terrible too. And we both just looked at the guy like, and this guy was like between my age and Rhys Davies, somewhere in the middle. Like he was, and I'm going, dude, you need to shut up. Like, you gotta do yourself any favors. And then the guy said, well, what's this tag here? I don't understand. And I'm like, whoever you are, they need to find somebody else for you. But anyway, the cool part was that John Rhys Davies just broke into character. He started with the Russian accent, just quoting his character from, he's like, oh, it was a program in Stalin's time. It was blah, 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 blah. And it was the line from when Dalton has a point. It was so fun to watch that man just talk Bond for a few minutes. And also the fact that he had such a love for the original stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, he was right out of the gate. We knew we weren't going to beat Sean.
I'll tell you, sometimes when you meet a celebrity at a con or whatever the event is, and you just hit them with, look, I'm a fan of yours, not just from this thing that we're here for this convention for, but for this and for this and for this. And to be able to talk to them about the thing they love the most. When Netter and I met Paul McGann at Chicago TARDIS, and I was like, hey, Horatio Hornblower. And he just, oh man, Horatio Hornblower, I wish we'd continue with that. And it's like, dude, there you go. There you go. When I was at the Metropolis, Illinois Superman celebration, and I met Oh damn, I'm forgetting her name. She played Ursa.
She's
Sarah Douglas.
Sarah Douglas.
Sarah
Yeah.
Douglas. Yeah. And what I did, I think I may have told you this story. You have all these pictures that you can choose from to get their autograph on, and I grabbed her picture of Pamela from V.
Right.
And I gave it to her to sign. And you know, she's not paying attention to the picture. She's talking to me.
Right.
And as she signs it, she signed it as Ursa. And she looks and she's like, "Oh damn! Oh, I signed this wrong." I'm like, "It's okay, whatever." She's like, "No. Give me another picture. I'm gonna sign it." She's like, "Really? That was?" And I'm like, you know, I liked everything I've seen you in, but you know, I said you're probably getting a lot of, and I love that. And I was in costume at the time. I was dressed as Lex Luthor from the comics,
right?
You know, the green and maroon with the bandoliers.
Yep.
And she's like, "What is your costume?" I said, "Remember Gene Hackman in your movie? Yeah, his character, but from the comics." She's like, "Oh, I get it. Okay."
Right. Right.
You know?
Right.
I was Supergirl.
Well, yeah, she got the Supergirl, no problem.
Right.
That was straightforward. But yeah, no, when you engage them that way, it's kind of encouraging to them because they're like, "Oh, you're not just a fan of this thing,
right?
You're actually a fan of me."
Right.
And
when I met Cassandra Peterson, and you know,
I remember you from Playboy. No, I'm sorry.
Well, no, but she had this she had a booth that was like 3 booths. She was a really popular draw at this Days of the Dead show.
Yeah.
And she had like 80 photographs that you could choose from, and 78 of them were Elvira.
Right.
But she had one that was her natural headshot with her red hair and everything, and I grabbed that one. And I looked around because I wanted to get one from Alan Quartermain because of my whole Indiana Jones thing.
Yes.
But she didn't have one. So I grabbed an Elvira shot, walked up. She was super sweet. And I said, I'm loving the variety here. You don't see that with a lot of celebrity signers. I said, but I'm not seeing anything from Alan Quartermain. Did I miss it? And she went, "Oh," like that, like I had wounded her. And I said, whoa. I said, "Hold on." I said, "Time. That wasn't a shot." I said, "That was not a joke." I said, and she goes, "Oh." And I said, no. I said, "There are pulp adventure movie fans like myself." I said, "Obviously we're watching that movie because you're in it." I said, "But it's worth watching because you're in it." And I was like, I said, "I was really looking for," she goes, "Oh, well, thank you very much," and stuff. And it's funny when they, like you said with Sarah Douglas, when they meet the person who genuinely loves their work across the board, but wants that shot from the different project, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And honestly,
like that artist that you asked her to draw Jericho.
Oh, geez, yeah. So George Perez, met him in Metropolis, Illinois. And he was rather than charging for autographs, he was charging for like a sketch. Do an art. And everyone was asking him to do Superman, everyone was asking him to do Wonder Woman. And I'm like, why would I ask George Perez to do those characters?
Right.
He's like, is there a sketch because I'd already had my money out or whatever.
Right.
He's like, there's a sketch. I was like, I want one of your characters. Would you do Jericho for me? And he's like, you are the first person to ask me to do Jericho today. And I'm like, how do you come to George Perez and ask for Superman or Wonder Woman? That makes zero sense to me. And he's like, oh, thank you. And he did this sketch of Jericho for me. And I was heartbroken when he passed, but it's a wonderful treasure of mine, because of that.
Yeah.
Because that was when I was really getting into comics and the whole Teen Titans, Tales of the Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans. That was all that era that him and Marv Wolfman. Well, you know comics. You and I have chewed the same ground in this era. Sure. So yeah, he was like, wow. and somehow these celebrities somehow remember me because I guess I stand out in their memory. They see me at another convention. They're like, "Oh, you're the one that wasn't just there for the thing. They were you actually like what I do. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm going to bring a photo back real quick. So, and it's related to this whole topic of Bond. Stand by. It'll take me 2 seconds.
No, yeah, that's absolutely what this is all
You want
about.
to get rid of the presentation so we can see?
Oh yeah, we can go back to the whole. Well, that puts him front
help,
and center. The empty chair puts him front and center. But that's
you may want to make it front and center when he brings what he's trying to show us, though.
I will. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's what I say: he's gone.
I did notice though that you chose Pierce Brosnan for your icon.
Yeah.
What do we got?
I know it's hard to see. My stupid camera won't.
That's fine.
It's impossible. It's not lighting it properly.
Well,
anyway,
I see a lady.
This is a framed image in my stairwell. And what you can't see because my camera sucks.
Is that Diabo in the upper right-hand corner?
Hey, there it goes.
Okay, yeah.
Come on, do the thing.
That's the Aston Martin in the lower left there.
But what you can't
there you go. Perfect. It was it was for a second.
There.
Yeah.
So that's signed by Miriam Dabo and Timothy Dalton.
Nice. Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So and then there's the lobby card with the sniper rifle and the black and whites. But anyway, nice. Yeah. Like Living Daylights and I have a very close relationship.
What is that Superman figure to your left?
This is the McFarlane Batman 66 Superman, whatever they made. Yeah.
Michael, is there any value? And I don't mean value monetary. I mean value to a superpowers collector to any of those McFarlane figures?
I mean, only personally, I think. I mean, I think some of them might end up being collectible to superpowers junkies once they're
No. I don't mean collectible. I just mean would I as somebody who loved the superpowers collection. Because they're not even in the same scale. Am I right?
They finally corrected that after, I think, like Wave 2. But the problem is that some of the figures, they ended up going back to the old body style from the first wave. So it's rather inconsistent, which kind of sucks.
Because Tony just did a video and he was showing a Robin figure next to the original Robin figure. And I'm like, wait a minute, those look like they're in scale. If that's what they're doing now.
Right. They are some of the middle waves were and are mostly in scale. So like Detective Batman, one of the Robins, the more recent Supermans that came out, I think they are in scale.
Okay, so maybe I need to revisit these. I know that my comic book dealer has some of these figures. Maybe next time I go in, I'll take a look at them and Sorry, I had to ask you a toy question as long as I had you on, but there you go. So we're not. I don't know about you guys, and I guess I'm indirectly asking you. I'm not real fired up about the future for James Bond. What do you guys? No. Okay, no. It's done.
It's a wait and see. It's a holding pattern, and it's definitely not a. I'm going to race out and upgrade Amazon Prime to watch whatever they bring out. It's like
everything tells me that Amazon and Jeff Bezos are not going to be good for James Bond. It'll be worse than what we've seen.
Yeah.
They got rid of the lady in charge of this stuff, though. I mean, what's her name? I forget her name.
Barbara Broccoli?
No, the other one who was running Amazon Prime.
I was going to say Barbara Broccoli seemed like the one that actually wanted to preserve the franchise.
A lot of the bad stuff that happened in the Craig era happened because of her. She does bear responsibility.
I thought it was in spite of her, not because of her. But you may be right.
Well, in spite. Who's the producer of the series? You put your foot down. Like this is the same woman that didn't want Tarantino directing a James Bond movie, even though he offered.
I kind of gotta say, I kind of understand that. That was the same reaction I had to Tarantino in charge of a Star Trek film. I was like, I like Tarantino, but for some things, I'm not real sure about that.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
he
it's
had
just,
already done Kill Bill by the time he was offering to do like a Bond film. He could do an action movie. He was already proving that.
and in retrospect, he could probably have. Well, he couldn't have done worse with Star Trek. I mean, let's be honest.
Of
But
course, you talked to the guy that wanted Brad Bird for the sequel trilogy.
no, I mean, I don't know.
He had a history with Lucasfilm. He'd done live action because he did Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. He did animated. I thought he would have been a good pick to helm the Star Wars.
Maybe not a popular take, but I still feel like this is why role-playing games are so good, because you can take these franchises and tell your own stories. You don't like Disney Star Wars, pick up the role-playing game and create your own stories. It's perfectly fine. You can absolutely do that. There's a Doctor Who role-playing game. I'd be surprised if there isn't a James Bond role-playing game. But even if there isn't, I know that TSR had done a spy role-playing game back in the day.
With Bond, though, there is an established canon. It's the canon that Ian Fleming set up. It's kind of like Sherlock Holmes, how Conan Doyle. That's the Sherlock Holmes canon. You know, the stuff he wrote. It's
Yep.
If it's creation of one author, then yeah, shared creations are trickier though, because then it gets but I don't know if it's a single author with a series.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So, yeah, let's wrap this. Have I missed anything? I think this is.
Oh, we forgot. Best... I'm sorry. We forgot to talk about The Rock with Sean Connery. How it was actually a, if the Sean Connery Bond had been stuck in Alcatraz for a couple
technically
of
a sequel,
so that's really kind of like a lost Bond movie. Wouldn't you agree, Michael, of RetroBlasting?
Actually,
Boomer...
Sorry.
Actually, Boomer, you forgot about, Flappy's years as 007.
Oh yeah, well there you go. He was up for the role, but he was overlooked.
He was a contender, yeah.
And then the American spin-off that they were going to do, James Bond.
Yeah, the American spin.
I'm joking. No, don't even. If there's any truth to that, I was just joking. Please tell me that's not true. I don't want to hear it.
Well, the American spinoff would have been the Jinx movie with Halle Berry.
Well, the fact is, we've got enough damn spy movies now. We don't. We got what's his name? Keanu Reeves.
No,
John Wick. We got John Wick.
That's not spy. That's assassin.
No, it's not. It's an assassin. But come on, James Bond was an assassin.
Well, yes, but yes and no. It depends on your point of view, I guess. It's
License to Kill. Come on.
Yes, okay.
He's got a license to kill. He's an assassin.
He had this conversation with Scaramanga about how you and I are a lot alike, and he's like, "No, you kill for money. I kill for Queen and Country. That's the difference."
True.
Okay. But
True.
Anyway,
it's still assassination, whether it's for your country or because you're paid.
I would argue.
Am I wrong?
Okay, here's what I'll say. And Michael had a great stream on like post Cold War style movies, and I would argue that yes, spy movies, but also like assassin movies and maybe movies about master thieves. They kind of all blend in the same kind of universe together, the same genre, but even though they're different roles,
I think what Troy is trying to say, Boomer, is that it doesn't matter the reason or the intent you ran over someone with a bus. You both ran over someone with a bus. Like that's.
I mean, right?
Well, that's why I felt, at least, I mean, I haven't gotten to the book yet, but at least in the movie Scaramanga, I felt was one of the most charming Bond villains, because he's actually not so bad. I mean, he'll still kill indiscriminately, but he seems more civilized than some of the other Bond villains. Like he'll
kill you indiscriminately, but he'll do it in a civilized way.
No, he'll give you literally
what you said, dude.
He gave Bond a fighting chance because he wanted to see who could win if the odds are even. So, he actually gave Bond a fighting chance to go at a duel with him, basically.
Let's just shoot him. I'll go to my room. I got a gun. It's something we can do together.
Oh, yes, I know.
Zip,
Austin Powers.
zip,
We talked about
zip.
Austin Powers last time because I was trying to point out that this is a good Bond parody, unlike Casino Royale. Even though Austin Powers, it parodies Bond, but a lot of other spy genre movies of the era too. Yes, but
You know who didn't give Bond a fighting chance?
who?
The writer of The World Is Not Enough.
You know something?
No Time to Die as well.
No, there's a difference, and I will say something. Okay, at least whatever you want to say about those Pierce Brosnan movies doesn't kill the character.
No, you're right.
It doesn't destroy the character of Bond. He just goes on for another adventure.
No, but we wouldn't remember Indiana Jones as well as we do if we had 4 crystal skulls to slog through.
Yeah, but you'd need like a dozen Indiana Jones films too.
Right.
You didn't like Jonathan Pryce.
Just to be fair, Michael.
Hey, look, like I said, it's a when you get to Die Another Day and World Is Not Enough, it's what side of the bed you wake up on in the morning as to which one's worse. But generally speaking, the Brosnan films deteriorate rapidly as they go. So like Tomorrow Never Dies has an amazing score, and that score keeps it from being a complete, and Michelle Yeoh. So those two things keep it from being a complete waste of time, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't see anything really redeeming about World Is Not Enough. And then Die Another Day, it's like, do you really want to see Madonna fence Pierce Brosnan? And then I don't.
Madonna was in a James Bond film?
She did the song for the movie too.
Right, which, that's, at least it wasn't that Sam Smith song. So, that's good.
Garbage did the song for World Is Not.
The worst part is I do these streams with you guys. Makes me want to go back and watch these James Bond movies from the beginning and now catch up on all these movies that I haven't seen. And I'll be sitting there watching them going, son of a bitch, why am I watching this damn film? Those bastards made me watch it.
Michael, are you a Dirty Harry fan?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe someday, maybe a year from now or something, we could do a thing on Dirty Harry. How's that?
I don't know. I'm afraid to find out which one's your favorite.
The first one is my favorite.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Guess you know what my least favorite is?
That's the only Dirty Harry movie.
Netter is really harsh on
Please don't say The Enforcer. Please don't say The Enforcer. Please don't say The Enforcer.
Least favorite?
Yeah.
No, it's A Sudden Impact.
Thank God. Okay.
No, The Enforcer is, and none of them are bad. And maybe you'll disagree with me on that. I just feel Sudden Impact doesn't feel like a Dirty Harry movie, but I don't think it's a bad movie in and of itself.
Best Dirty Harry movie, Gran Torino.
Actually, best Dirty Harry movie.
That's a joke.
Yes.
Best Dirty Harry movie,
yes.
Heartbreak Ridge.
He doesn't play police officers in either of those. At least you could have picked The Gauntlet, where he does play a police detective. Even though
The Gauntlet was supposed to be a Dirty Harry movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then they decided not to. Yeah.
Why?
I'd have to go back and refresh my memory on that, but they toyed with the idea of making it a Dirty Harry.
Especially when you think about the way Hollywood does things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't remember if we did a stream on this or if I just mentioned it during a stream, but the Hellraiser films, the 80% of the Hellraiser films are other horror movies where they just shoehorned in Bradley as the Hell Priest, just to call it a Hellraiser film.
That's what you got to put on the VHS tape in your video store, or now actually now the modern day mom and pop video store is a streaming service where you see all these box art titles. Yeah, but
true. But it's like I so many of these films where they just take another story and say, hey, this is a franchise. We'll just slap this name on it. This is a story, and there you go. And, I'm a completist, so I have every damn one of those Hellraiser films, and it's like...
And he's made me watch them.
No, there's a lot of them you haven't seen, sweetheart. I love you. I will not make you watch Deader, okay? I will not make you watch that.
You made me watch some pretty bad ones.
Well... No, it was deleted scenes that made you watch Eraserhead. I was not going to make you see that, even though there are things I like about that movie. But anyway, we gotta wrap this up because we've kept Michael an hour and a half longer than we should have, and this man has worked so hard on that Rogue One video. He needs sleep. He needs time off. He needs a break. And yet here he is. I don't know. You're just a glutton for punishment. That's the only thing I can figure. That's the only thing I can figure why you wouldn't bother coming on my channel.
Boomer was chomping at the bit to finish this, and I didn't realize it had been almost a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had known it had been almost a year, I would have drugged this out for another 6 months just to watch it. But no, seriously, I wasn't gonna torture him any longer.
I wasn't joking when I said, I hadn't said anything, and I'm like, he finished the Rogue One. This is probably a good time for me to grab him before he gets into another big project. But I seriously do appreciate every single time you come on my channel. It's
no problem.
I think it's an act of charity on your part. I super appreciate it. I super appreciate it.
It's such an act of charity to be able to sit here and hang out and be with friends for 3 hours and talk about movies we all like, and some that
and argue about them,
and some that only some of us like.
Punishing him, telling him, you got to go on Troy's show now.
No, Melinda probably said, just stop. You don't need to be on stream all the time. You don't need to be in front of that camera all the damn time.
She didn't actually indicate that because I've taken all these days off really since the thing got finished. I was like, by Friday I'm going to do Troy's stream in the evening, and then maybe over the weekend I'll start building a script for the next, video. And she's like, all right, that's fine. She's like, but, you really do need to try hard to, and I don't do well. I don't know how to relax really. So
I know the feeling. Yeah, absolutely. So, it's like, especially when you're doing this, you're kind of working for yourself, and it's like I just got to keep. I have time. I have time where I could watch something, I could play something, or I could be making a video. I should really be making a video. That's the responsible thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those situations. So,
that is why everybody here, make sure you're subscribed to RetroBlasting. Check out his merch. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. He's got a Patreon. These are things he'll never say, so I have to say it because, we have to support each other.
Do you want to hear the first paragraph of the Indiana Jones Adventure Series script? I haven't even released it on Patreon.
No, you haven't. Yeah.
Paragraph?
Yeah.
All right. I think Netter will get a kick out of this. All right. All right. Here we go. The year was 2013. Less than a year earlier, Disney had purchased Lucasfilm. Now, Hasbro had made the leap with Star Wars toys into the 1/12 scale. Spurred on by a generation of now adult toy collectors who were not only motivated by haunting childhood memories of their 3 3/4-inch 5 points of articulation Star Wars figures constantly derided when compared to the versatile G.I. Joes throughout the 1980s, but also deep-seated insecurities among many of these middle-aged men who had been told all of their lives that 6 inches was the bare minimum. And by God, they were determined to finally get 6 inches from somewhere.
I love it. I will mention, by the way, Michael might not even realize this. The week's gone by and you probably missed it, but I have started an afternoon stream, Liquid Lunch, at noon every day.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah, a work day, Monday through Friday. And this week there will be a video where, and I'm not sure what I'm going to call it. It's going to, you did your love-hate relationship with Rogue One. I am going to do my hate relationship with Hasbro. I am pissed. I am really pissed. So, I sent you that Mon Mothma figure.
Yes.
Because because I had gotten those retro figures, and I'd gotten, I think I got two of the box sets, and because there were troop builders in there that I wanted, and Mon Mothma is not a troop builder, and you and you can you see an army of Mon Mothmas?
Right.
Actually, now that I think about that, there's actually some humor in there.
I wouldn't be opposed to that, but all right.
right. But you had said you wanted one. I'm like, well, fuck it. I literally have an extra one.
Right.
There you go. And but your reaction to it was awesome. Like, really? I don't want to. And I'm like, dude, I literally have an extra. Really,
it was. I'm so grateful. She's my pride and joy modern retro figure on display in the case.
There you go.
Really is. She's the one I look at. Yeah, I'm like, oh.
Other than Stan Solo, all the people that do boutique, figures. If it's got those like robe legs, like the Emperor and Ben Kenobi, they can't sit, they can't bend, they can't nothing. It's just a chunk of plastic. Even though they got seams in them that you can't move those legs. Anyway,
but they're really good at standing in a display case without falling over.
That's a great point. No, that's absolutely true. The most recent announcement of the retro figures was, and didn't you do, or somebody did a video comparing the promo pictures for these versus Stan Solo.
Oh, okay.
And some others, it's the Rebel Trooper and Luke ceremonial.
Right.
Well, I had ordered 2 of that as well.
Right.
Target exclusive, which I hate doing Target. I hate exclusives.
Yeah.
But it was the only way, and I put it in. They just canceled my order because they can't.
I've heard they do that. I've heard they do that a lot.
They did it to me before when it was Boba Fett, R2 and 3PO animated style.
Right.
It was an exclusive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck you. I'm done. I got the email that said we're canceling your order, and they blamed it on Hasbro. And I'm sure Hasbro, because their distribution model friggin' sucks.
Right.
But I've not seen that with any other exclusive that they've done except Target, and this is the second time. They sent me this email and I responded. I said, well, that's just great. I am so glad because this is the second time you effers have done this to me, and I will simply never order anything from Target ever a friggin' again.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
I don't blame you. Although I will say that, I'm glad you're getting a charge out of it. That's why I'm probably going to end up doing this video next week or live stream next week. But I did end up getting the R2 3PO and what do you call it?
Yeah.
Boba Fett. Because it became available later again.
Yeah.
And so I had to literally place another order.
Sure.
So it's like, why the hell do you have a pre-order if this is how you have to do it?
Sure.
But on another note with Hasbro, they had a pre-order for just this last Sunday, the May the 4th. The May the 4th be with you.
The 4th be with you.
They had a pre-order for what the hell was it? Oh, I think I told you about it. It was the Cantina.
Yeah, with the 4 figures. Yeah.
Guess what? You
Sold
can only
out.
get it if it was sold out. If you weren't, the only way you could get it was if you were one of those premium members, which I won't fucking do.
No.
And I can guarantee you, all the people that got them because they're premium members are fucking scalpers selling them for twice as much, 3 times as much on eBay. I said, fuck it, I don't need them.
Right.
I can take the figures that they repainted and repaint them my fucking self.
Right.
I could go to what's that Etsy seller? Cardboard Galaxy. I'll bet he's got that backdrop or something very similar.
Yeah.
I'll give my money to him because fuck Hasbro, and that's I'll be
I
won't
get
be
it.
talking
I
like
get
this in the middle of the day, but
Sure, I get it,
It's
man.
a little hot.
see, yeah,
But I understand.
I feel a little strong about that. But
yeah, I'm not a
but I also know you too, Michael. You're sitting there going,
Should I
yeah,
let
yeah.
Michael
You're the
talk?
one. You're the one that keeps putting yourself in this situation with Hasbro.
Look, sometimes in life we have that friend that we've told 100 times. It doesn't matter how many dollar bills you put in her thong, that stripper's not going to go home with you. You can't stop them from doing it. There's some people that just have to keep pulling the lever on that slot machine, and it's like, all right, whatever.
Does that apply to Twitch streamers too?
Well, it depends. What are you doing with your Twitch stream?
What?
Apparently, he's twitching.
He says Twitch.
I'm
what he
thinking
meant
of
was
Pokimane and the guy that spent $500
well,
dollars to
yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
You buying someone's bathwater there, Agent Boomer? Just
No, I'm
And,
not. I don't go on Twitch. I'm fine.
What do they call those on Twitch? Thoughts.
That hoe over there. Thoughts.
Right. Yeah. That's become a big problem over there. Yeah, Twitch is starting to become the smoking section of online video.
I felt
those
bad
of you that are old enough to remember what a smoking section
right.
Because I heard there were some genuine female streamers in there that were just trying to game, and then guys would go on there. Why aren't you in a hot tub? It's like, no, I'm just playing games on here. I don't do that.
Right. Wait a minute. This is classic. Mark Daly, my friend told me he quit strippers because with hookers you get more bang for your buck. Boom! There you go.
Zing. Yeah. So look, that my whole point in saying that though was to say that I understand when you're. I truly do understand when you have a group of figures or an environment that you're trying to complete, and they offer up, something, and I recently a friend of mine who's a YouTuber or has a YouTube channel. He alerted me to a seller on Etsy that sold these beautiful cardboard backdrops a la the Cantina Adventure set.
Sure.
But he had themed them, custom artwork and printed with 3D pieces, not just flats. They had slot, tab, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For 3 3/4 inch figures for Raiders of the Lost Ark Cairo Streets, Marion Ravenwood's Bar.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, I bought, the 3 sets that were made for 3 3/4 inch style immediately. I bought them like that.
Right.
Now, he says he's going to, the sale says, and he had a good rep on eBay. He had a lot of Star Wars custom ones and stuff.
eBay or Etsy?
Etsy, sorry.
Okay.
But he has a good reputation, good feedback that's recent.
Sure.
I'm just trying to be patient. But, it's been a few days and they haven't shipped yet, but they still have a shipping window. I'm sure maybe he prints them before. I don't know. But, you start to get a little nervous, like when you see Hasbro stuff is sold out that you wanted. It's like,
yep.
Am I really going to get these, or is this going to be a big disappointment where I have to claw my money back, from Etsy, I'm more excited to get the thing. I'd rather have the thing, I get it.
I get it. And honestly, this is why I order figures from Tungori. Do you know what Tungori? Okay,
I've heard about it, but I don't know much.
Tungori, see, it's a bit of a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the toy community really knows. Here's the assumption. Bosk's Bounty has Tim over at Boss Bounty has speculated, and I think most people agree. They think that he is somehow associated with the factory, whether it's in Taiwan or wherever it is these figures are coming out of. And it's like he's getting, I don't know, factory rejects or something. Which, although I've gotten a bunch of figures from them, there's never been anything wrong with these figures that I've seen.
Yeah.
But they're just loose. They're not on card. They usually have their accessories, but not always.
Right.
For example, he put up a bunch of the Ula figures, and she was naked.
Oh,
she
wow.
didn't have the
Right,
strapping
right.
and stuff like that. I mean, and people would buy them. And what people are doing, especially, is looking for, and he's got them, the HasLab figures.
Yeah.
Figures that came packed with the HasLab, and you
Right.
couldn't get them because you had to spend $500 or whatever on the big ship you didn't want.
Right.
But he's got them loose, and it's like, oh, that's a great way to get them.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, I don't know, is this considered bootleg? Don't give an F.
Right.
I'd rather give my money to this guy and spend $13 on shipping.
Yeah.
Per figure, than give it to Hasbro at this point.
Absolutely.
He does fine shipping, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. That's the other thing. If you buy a bunch of figures to get, and this is why I end up getting all these R2 units.
Sure.
It's like, well, if I'm going to get this damn figure, let me get that R2 figure, and I don't know, maybe I can use another Stormtrooper.
Right. Yeah, because you're already paying for shipping. I do that a lot. Yeah.
And then Netter goes, you got something else from Tungori. Here you go.
Right. Right.
Anyway,
that's really interesting. I'll have to go over there and look.
Yeah, Tungori, TUNGHORI.com. The site came down for like 6 months, and everyone was like, what happened to him? Oh, this is too bad. And then suddenly he was just back.
Oh, he was on vacation.
Well, maybe. Well, somebody told me that they had like hurricanes or something there. And
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder, and tried reaching out to him on eBay, didn't get a response, and then suddenly his site was back up. So, okay.
Not bad.
So there you go.
Not bad.
Anyway, let's wrap this up because I'm sorry, I really have monopolized your time way too much. But please tell everybody, because everyone at this point now has subscribed to you. They have gone to your merch store and ordered a T-shirt.
Oh my God.
And tell them what you've got coming up. I know what you've got coming up, but you tell them what you got coming up.
Next up is my big long-awaited Indiana Jones Hasbro Adventure Series sort of post-mortem. Gonna go through that whole line. Then after that, I am doing an entire sort of deep dive into Japanese Spider-Man, the TV show from the 70s.
Right. Looking forward to that.
So those are kind of like going in tandem, and those are my two big projects.
I am not going to get you a custom figure of that, but I will point you towards where you can get a custom Mego head if you want it.
Okay, great. And then after that, there might be within the production of those two things, if those cardboard sets show up, then I'll be doing like a sort of like a new Fan Toys roundup video of some of the Fan Toys.
I like those. I really like those videos.
Yeah. So that one's, I've got some new stuff from Next 17, and I've got, hopefully those show up, and I've got some other stuff to show. But I want to wait for those cardboard pieces to show up so I can do kind of a big thing. And then I've got I've got a few little things that I might be doing, but really the two big ones that I'm working on right now are getting Indiana Jones Adventure Series done and Japanese Spider-Man, because then after that, I have to jump right into Superman Returns.
That happened.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's fair. Superstar.
Don't worry, I'll make it worth watching.
Hey,
super voyeur.
Michael, can I just tell you that when I saw Superman Returns, well, I watched that, and I'll put it mildly, was disappointed, but I said, wow, that Spider-Man 3 trailer looks great. I can't wait.
Well,
yeah,
I was not happy with Superman Returns, but then Man of Steel came out, and it made Superman Returns look better by comparison.
I'm not saying much, but
Boomer, you wanna real quick tell them about Geeky Geezers on Sunday?
Sunday we're going to be talking about different subjects. I, of course, am talking about movie news, such as a possible Warner Discovery split. I don't know if that's just a rumor right now, but Zaslav also equating HBO Max to must-see TV back in the 90s, if anybody remembers that. Troy seems to be I think Troy is shocked by some of this Nintendo news coming.
Oh, I'm gonna friggin' go off on Nintendo.
And Farming wants to express to him that I feel like I've been here before many times with Nintendo.
You have always been the Nintendo stan, so it surprises
It's not
me.
that I'm a stan. See, this is where you go wrong on me. There are Nintendo stans out there. I accept Nintendo for what they are and their flaws, and
Evil corporation is what they are.
They're all evil. I'm sorry. All three
yes.
console manufacturers are evil in their own way. I'm sorry.
Yes.
They wouldn't be there. I guess if you count Steam as a fourth console manufacturer, maybe they're not as bad. Okay, but yeah, just no. The big three are all bad. Yes.
Fair enough. So
we'll talk about it Sunday.
That's Geeky Geezers on Sunday and Monday. Members, please, if you can make it, and I know not everyone can. But Monday night, members night at the movie this Monday. Special guest, this guy right here. You guys have been telling me literally for years, including this guy, been telling me I need to see, and Netter needs to see The Big Lebowski. So
yes,
that's what the movie will be for Monday. I haven't got the stream up yet, but I'll get it up there for you.
Didn't you kind of forget the movie for Saturday?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, in what, like less than 20 hours over on Netter's channel. What are we going to be watching on Netter's
Four
channel?
Rooms.
Four Rooms.
It's a great film. It's basically, if you haven't seen it before, there's a brand new bellhop in this hotel.
Tim Roth.
First night on the job. There's 4 different rooms that interact with him, and it's hilarious. I love it.
I will explain not only the connection to the directors, but how this film directly impacted some of their films thereafter. Very, very interesting stuff.
And wow, we need to work on my lighting because I look like a ghost when you had me up close.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sweetie. yeah, we do have to work on your lighting. We've got to work on the lighting in this room in general. That's absolutely
your lighting looks great. My lighting looks ugh.
Yeah, we'll work on it. Anyway, but that's it. Thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun. Michael, stay with us for about 3 minutes, until we get to the end of the credits. We'll say our goodbyes in the background. And, yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.
The neon lights are fading. Closing time is near. Whispers in the corners, secrets shared sincere. The bartender's polishing the final glass. Time slips away like moving through the grass. Last call for alcohol, make your dreams come true. One more round, friends, from me and you. Let's toast to the night, to the stories we've spun. Here's to the laughter and to what's begun. The shadows are dancing as we linger still. Every clink of a glass, a memory to distill. Beneath this smoky haze, our feelings they unfurl. A tapestry of whispers in this corner of the world. The jukebox serenades us with a final tune, crooning to the lonely and the lovers under the moon. With every soft note, the end draws ever near. But in this fleeting moment, there's nothing to fear. Last call for alcohol, make your dreams come true. One more round, friends, for me and you.